Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the St. John's Gaming, Esports, and Technology podcast. And tonight we're going to be talking about The Last of Us 2. And tonight we actually have a first guest tonight. His name is Joe.
Hi, my name's Joe. I'm an accounting student at Baruch, and I like video games.
Great to have you on tonight, Joe.
Good to be here.
All right,
How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing all right. How are y'all?
Pretty good.
pretty good so far.
Doing okay. I'm pretty tired.
All right, so how are we going to start this?
Down to business.
How are we going to start this? How are we going to start this? Yeah.
Well, okay.
We can
First,
recap it first.
let's introduce the topic first.
Yeah, I think we should definitely talk about what we like the whole point. Maybe then like from there go like positives of like negatives. I think positive we might want to talk about first in the game before we start like
it is true.
trying to pull it apart.
All right, so for probably the first positive, like the really major one, this game's accessibility. That's the only one I can really think of.
Okay,
How like
that's true.
I would consider that a positive, yeah.
I've seen videos of people playing with the accessibility mode. It's crazy. Like they have the
Are you-
whole thing for colorblind people and all that. Like this, I'll show off the options in the game, but there are so many options you can do.
Oh, you have the game open at the moment?
Yeah, I have it on. I'm start booting up right now. I remember, did someone say something about like a person who was like, someone said something about deaf or blind playing this game. I don't remember.
Oh, you know what?
There was a video of someone
Um,
playing. That was.
There, yeah, I should definitely. I knew
You saw
about
the
this.
video of that?
So there's a guy who was going through the store. I think he even streamed it on Twitch at one point. I don't remember his exact Twitter or his exact Twitch name, but he was doing like it's like a puzzle game like at portions of the game, but the game was telling him to jump because he couldn't he's playing the game he couldn't see, and it's definitely like an experience that you don't get to have as those kind of if you're a video game and you're gonna play a game and you can't see it to begin with. It's like kind of important when it comes to the games that like that visual aspect of what's happening. So the character was trying to make like a leap. It's like one of like the puzzles, and the game was pretty much explaining to him like when to perform the jump, or like if there's like the object like to the left or to the right, and it would tell him if he's like aligned with it. It's very interesting. I thought it was pretty cool though. I like that way they have an accessibility factor to give for people with the lack of sight. And I'm guessing in the case of like if you have a lack of hearing too, like the game has those subtitles just to inform you what's going on though. So it's pretty nice.
Oh, yeah, definitely. My mom would definitely benefit from that. Especially me. Sometimes I can't really understand what people are saying. So, subtitles are really helpful.
Yeah, honestly though,
Even
it's
when I
like
watch TV, I have subtitles on.
true. I feel like a lot of like major forms of entertainment nowadays, like sometimes you just need to like have subtitles on, otherwise you're
Yeah,
not really
because
gonna
my mom has
understand.
really bad hearing, suffering since she was young. So subtitles are very helpful.
Yeah, but this is definitely the first game I've heard of and seen where, for even the blind community, um, you could actually like access the game, and I thought that was really awesome.
Doesn't Microsoft have something for disabled people?
They
Oh,
have
yes,
a,
there's
a
like they have like a
gaming
Remember
pad.
there was
trackpad.
something?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like
Something
a-
with like Xbox or something?
It's like a giant trackpad controller, pretty much.
It was
I've
something
seen this
that
ad
was
before. It was
I
it
like
was an
think they showed it during
advertisement for the
here.
Super Bowl that they released.
Oh,
I
it
don't
was the
remember
Super
which
Bowl,
Super
not the
Bowl it
awards?
was,
I think
but
so.
it wasn't the Game Awards, I believe. It was a Super Bowl commercial, and it was very like heartwarming to watch because it was like every kid in the neighborhood was like, "Oh my God, the kid's gonna beat it!" And in this case, the kid was the one using that gamepad, and it's like, oh, anyone can do it. Anyone can be a gamer. Anyone can like live up to the expectations of other people and be a part of the of like the normal society, which I
That's
thought was
really
really awesome. But
But one
yeah,
good thing with all the accessibility is that it even leads into the gameplay for like people who are newer to video games, just have difficulty in general, just for video games. Like they have like the complete camera assist mode, and the difficulty options are crazy in this game. I can pretty much have a custom difficulty to make it the game either as hard or as easy as I want it to. Like I can
Oh,
change,
really?
I can
Is it-
change all the resources spawns, all the weapons spawns, all that stuff.
They allow you to do that.
It's crazy. I
Yeah,
remember.
the
that-
difficulty in the game, it's actually really creative. It's not just like set on easy, medium, hard. You actually get to adjust like every single like aspect between like enemy intelligence, enemy damage and stuff, how many resources you can
okay.
scavenge. So you actually get to be creative.
That's actually I've never really like heard of like
That
games
sounds
that really
interesting.
allow you to like kind of like adjust almost everything you get to do though. It kind of almost sounds like a sandbox kind of like environment that you would be in though. But you know, this isn't really like one of those cases. I mean, it's you know, there's definitely like a lot to explore and a lot to like interact with in the environment, imagining in the game.
Yeah.
But besides that though, it's I would just assume like oh like there's always like those in because like this game is like almost like a movie, you know. Um,
Yeah, it's
So
heavily story based.
they definitely need to have people who like granted those who may not be the best at a game in under like the stressful situations that you might encounter, just be able to like accomplish it. So I mean that would make sense for like having a game kind of be like oh if you just wanted to play for the story and just like get through it, pretty much like here it is. Um, but that's really cool to hear honestly that they have the option to like really set everything like so you can really like if you just if you're like an extremist almost you can really like set the difficulty to like the max.
Yeah.
I like that though. I mean it's cool for that group of people who really like that kind of gaming.
Alright.
I don't know like I want to say like the other things I really liked about the game though is I think in comparison from the first one it's definitely like a lot more graphically like enhanced
No, yeah,
from
this
first
game
one.
is one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. I'm not gonna lie.
What about the acting?
Okay, the acting is. I like the acting. I think it's great. What was it? What's that? Ashley Johnson? Is that her last name? Ellie's voice. I always forget her last name.
I think it is Ashley Johnson.
You know, she again does an amazing voice for Ellie. Laura Bailey is good. Laura Bailey is good as Abby.
I mean,
What's
like,
it
I feel
called?
like
I think she's great
it's
too.
definitely like almost like your act. Like, this is, they're gonna put you up in a rig, and you're gonna be the character. So like, everything that these people go through, like, nowadays when it comes to like actually acquiring someone, to be an actor for their game, like, you're really hiring the person that's gonna play that role at that point.
No, yes,
So
especially now with the new motion capture stuff that they have. I'm pretty sure this whole game was face motion captured. You like even just like when you're just idling through the area, you can see like your character's face is just changing around. It makes them feel
What?
more real.
I believe there's two parts of mocap. There's the movement, and then there's the facial capture. So, like in Ground Zeroes, there was someone who did the facial capture for Paz, Chico, all those characters, and then there's someone who did the actual mocap for the characters. So,
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
yeah,
about.
so there can be a difference between an actor actually doing the character's motion and voice acting, and then the character's actual face.
Yeah, it's like with what they did with Quiet in like Metal Gear Solid 5. What was it? Stefan. She has like a Swedish name.
Oh, man. Oh,
Like
hold on.
It's like
No,
Stefina
I know it.
Johansson. I'm gonna butcher that name. It's something like that. It's something like that because I know I've seen videos of
Hold
it
on, I'll
that
look
they
Oh,
motion captured her face.
Stephanie Justin. I
Okay.
believe that's how you pronounce it.
Okay, then I'm way off. But yeah, no, I've seen videos of it. They capture like they have her stand there, they have her just T-pose to get their whole body image, and then whenever they're talking, they get up close and all that with the cameras, just for her
Well,
facial movements.
Do both? Did she do the movement and facial?
From the images I saw, I think she did both.
Okay.
What was it?
Alright.
Okay, the gameplay in this game too. That's another positive. I think it greatly improved over the first one.
they added more like of the stealthy mechanics though, right, into it. That kind of made it feel
Yeah.
like, all right, if you're going into play a survival game, like where you're going to be doing a lot. I mean, and especially in the case when you're playing as Ellie, I feel like there's a lot more, like, because you're going to be like on your own doing some of the gameplay itself. You're definitely like handling like more around you. Like they implemented those elements.
Do you have the video of Joey in the middle of like some minefield part, and then he just randomly blows up?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
That was a funny video.
I know what you're talking about. That's when he was like oh no, I remember he told me he was he was impressed with the graphics because that's another thing. He was like, oh, every time you hit a window in this game, it actually breaks like a real life window. So he was running around trying to break them, and then he walked into a mine while he was doing it.
And he exploded and died.
You just want to have fun, man. I don't know what you're saying.
I like how his tweet was like question marks and then PS4 share.
Alright.
What was it? Back to the game. Yeah, no, they did improve the stealth stuff because there's more things to upgrade with like the pills and stuff from the first game. Like the first game, I think there was only like 6 or 7 things to upgrade. That was pretty much it.
And then
Now-
the guns, like nowadays, you can like actually upgrade your gun and make it better and stuff too. So
Oh yeah, they got tons of ways to upgrade them now. And what's it? Oh yeah, you can actually make silencers now. That's a thing.
And
Yeah.
well, and that's definitely good for like if you're going like that kind of road. I'm actually curious. Can you go through the whole game without like killing people pretty much though, or is that not how it is in this game because of the story and the plot?
I don't think you can. I think it'd be pretty hard too.
Okay. Well, I mean, but whatever. You know what?
I think
I feel
there's definitely in areas where you can just
sorry,
completely avoid
John,
that.
this is an Undertale.
No, this is
No,
Metal Gear Solid 3.
But
Undertale.
yeah, it's not more of an Undertale. It's more or less just like the challenge of
You
like.
can't be a pacifist.
I see it as like I see it more as like a Metal Gear thing, where like you play Metal Gear and like
Oh yeah, you
definitely
can
feel
choose not
better
to kill people.
when you really like try not to do it. But also like sometimes games really encourage like that stealth gameplay where it's like you actually get rewarded not like for not having engaged a group of enemies and such. Like and to you, you know, as a player, it also kind of feels more rewarding to like get through it and not just go full guns blazing and then just at the end of it just be like, okay, well that took only a minute, like as opposed to like extend your game time a bit longer, especially as you go through multiple encounters. As that you might get like another hour in just because you or two because you extended it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, something about the game is that because like it's like you're struggling to like maintain your resources and you make sure you have enough like ammo and things. Like stealth is actually, especially on the harder difficulties, stealth is like almost a necessity because you really don't have enough ammo to go through every enemy, and you may have to like just stealth kill them or just go around them.
That's true. That's something I completely forgot about. Like as you get into a higher difficulty, that you'd be dealing with it, as opposed like if you go on like an easier difficulty, you can actually just kind of just go and just go at it.
Yeah, even on medium, it kind of feels like a little too easy. Like it's kind of like Doom. You just run through every enemy without like a care in the world. And then like on harder difficulty, it's like actually you're struggling.
I will admit, playing this game on moderate at first on the medium, I felt it was harder than the last game with medium. I feel like I had no resources whatsoever, and I was struggling with that so bad. Maybe
You were struggling a lot in the first game on hard.
Okay, the first game, I think it's the remaster. I think there's something buggy with the stealth.
I think there's something wrong with that?
I think that was something with the remaster.
Didn't you mention this last week where you got caught a few times where you shouldn't have gotten caught?
Yeah, I think I did. I probably did. But yeah, that was weird. But like this game, it didn't feel hard with the stealth. It felt hard that resource management was a lot harder on medium compared to like just everything else. Like that was my biggest trouble. Where it's like, oh, I have no ammo. I have no items to do anything. What am I supposed to do in this now big fight now, where I need to get through this entire area without dying?
Yeah, it is still like a survival horror game, so you do have to make use of like the bottles and bricks you find around, and you're still gonna need to like use stealth to like take out a few enemies just to save on some ammo.
That's the thing. In the first game, there's like 20 bottles in every section. But this
Yeah,
game,
there's a lot everywhere.
Yeah, there's an excessive amount.
This game, it felt like they highly reduced it, and I don't know why.
They probably just knew, like, okay, like, what in the other game, like, were bottles, like, and these, like, bricks and stuff, could you use them to, like, actually, like, harm an enemy?
You basically would just, in the first game, you just throw it at them, it would stun them, then you can try to run in for melee, if anything.
It's
Maybe,
basically like a free kill if they're by themselves.
Maybe that's, like, abused. Or, like, you know what, like,
Yeah.
in, like, the environments and stuff you're going into nowadays, like, there's just not really, it's not like, you're going to, like, maybe, like, I don't know, like, from what I've seen online, like, there's, like, definitely like okay, much more like grassier areas and like kind of like openness to it. Like I don't know if you're gonna find a bottle like in some of these places where like nature kind of like took over. You know.
Yeah, it is a
But
little weird in the first game. Like every 30 feet, you find a brick or a bottle just lying around. It kind of takes away from the atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then honestly, I think that's really just like in my opinion, I think it's kind of like the best things that come out of this game, in the pros. I think there's just a lot of cons, like ever since like the game was initially released, and then like some of it has like died down from the initial start when it came to The Last of Us 2.
I don't think so. I think Twitter wants to disagree with that
Oh,
statement.
Twitter and
But-
Reddit, they fight
It's
constantly
so
every day.
bad.
They keep
I
fighting.
see it every single time I log on. There's always someone arguing about The Last of Us 2.
So then I don't know, but if the community like rages about it or like they fight over it, then
I think
just
they're
goes to
Community became so divided.
it literally split an entire fan base in half, in clean 50%.
But
And I've never
maybe that's
seen a game do that.
because-
It feels like when Twilight Sparkle became an alicorn, and then the whole My Little Pony fandom was having an argument on how she didn't deserve to become an alicorn. That's basically how it feels
Translate.
like.
I don't know what this
Well,
means.
I wouldn't know.
Twilight Sparkle, the purple pony. You watched My Little Pony.
What? It's an alicorn.
Well, if I never watched my
Was someone a pony who has wings and a horn,
Like a Pegasus.
like Princess Celestia. She's an
bitch?
alicorn.
That bitch?
That's a bad word.
Oh wait! Ah! They're coming.
All right.
Well, it took 3 episodes to make one slip.
It's okay. John did it last week. Gonna rat him out.
You ran me out. I caught myself. I caught myself.
God.
I knew when I was saying it.
He's like, stuff.
Yeah. Anyways,
All right, back to the game. Back to the game. Okay,
Speaking of people who have the letter A or A in the beginning of their name, Abby.
Abby, big mistake.
How did you
Wait,
transition
hold on.
to that?
Before we go on to that, one other thing I wanted to mention about the gameplay, about like the stealth options, like the AI, they actually feel like real people.
Okay,
Like, when,
yeah,
like,
that's
that
true.
was
someone-
terrifying playing. I will admit that. It's horrifying.
Yeah, like people, like when their allies die, you'll hear like others like call their name out, and also when like if they spot you in the garage, they'll actually say, "Hey, he's in the garage," and they'll actually like pinpoint you. They'll actually say out loud your actual location, which like actually shows they put a lot of effort into it.
I feel like there's another game that did that. Was it Life is Strange?
That's not a combat game.
No,
Just like the audio in general, like
no,
that.
in like a combat game, something to like that.
I'm trying to think of what I know that like.
I know I've heard of that somewhere.
I mean,
The
there's a
only,
stealth
the only thing I
segment.
can think of is like Army of Two, but that
You know what? Yeah, but like that's I don't know.
that's completely different.
That's
It's a
completely
scenario. Because like it's literally built that one person goes all in and the other one stealths.
Did they do that in Battlefield? Maybe it was
Well,
Battlefield.
I think
Battlefield that's different. That's
Battlefield-
players counting each other out. Like they can point at each other and say like, "Oh,
I think
they're in the
I think
thing."
I think the characters in the game like they will like when you're playing though.
No, yeah, there's a spawning mechanic.
When you're
yeah.
playing
Spotting.
campaign, I think.
Whatever.
Campaign. No, I don't remember that.
I don't know.
I don't remember.
I only played a portion of Battlefield.
It's definitely.
But-
it's
I
definitely
can't
another
really.
combat
Don't
game we're
quote
thinking
me
of.
on it.
But all right. I'm trying to think in regards of cons, right? Would you guys consider that maybe after going through the game and playing it, that like everyone has done something wrong and could be considered like a villain-ish, like?
Well, I think the vast majority of the people in this world are villains. They are very much evil.
No, yeah.
They're
like,
all bad in their own ways.
Yeah, like I can pinpoint pretty much everyone's a villain, but that was like part of the first game that they pinpointed that down and showed it to you.
I mean, yeah, with Joel like at the very end of like The Last of Us 1, right? As
Yeah.
he saves
He
Ellie,
saves Ellie, but at what
but
cost?
dooms the world essentially, and the potential like, or that moment of saving the world with a cure, and. I remember the character at the end of the first game, the lady who was like,
I don't remember that.
This is what she wanted.
Oh, Marlene.
So she says that, in the end of the first game, and then as you play through the second game, she finds out, or Ellie finds out, what really happened.
But hold on,
and
one thing with that whole situation, Ellie was unconscious that entire time in the first game. The last time Ellie was awake was literally when she was drowning and Joel had to save her, and she never even got to meet the Fireflies or anything because they were just like, oh no, scoop that brain out, take that.
But my point is that like the context for her is then like given with like that audio tape, I think, right? In the second game.
No, yeah, I know what you're talking about from the
and then
it was like one of the Fireflies.
Yeah, my point is that they're like, oh, we didn't get the cure, because Joel like did this stuff, and then she goes out, she realizes what happened, and then they have that moment like later on in the game where she's like, I kind of wanted that purpose, like you should have let me like go, but like Joel has to live with that like moment that he can't do it because losing a daughter was horrible to him in the first game, especially that's like kind of what drove the main like that
whole main
background for
plot
him.
pretty much.
Yeah. And now in the second game, like, it's just another reason for him to kind of like have to deal with the sins he had, and eventually then the sins catch up to him. In the case with Abby, going after him, and her group entirely, because they all like had that thing coming to them, and even in the case like Ellie is like really could also be seen as like a villain. Because like after the main conflict point of this story,
with
where,
Abby, coming
Abby,
in, doing a little golfing. We do a little golfing.
Where Abby essentially finishes off Joel and betrays him, which is even horrible when you think about it because Joel helps her.
Yeah, Joel and Tommy literally save her life from a horde, and she's like, oh, it's them. Oh well, do some golfing.
Well, that's the thing about the game. Like, there's pretty much no good characters. Like, every single person, Joel, Ellie, Abby, they're all like evil, and that's kind of like part of like the apocalyptic world is like kind of like forces of
everyone has
like
an agenda.
But there's like
even
one
in the
moment
first
that...
game. All right, I'm gonna go.
No, you
even
go
like
first,
in the first game, Joel. I forgot who he's talking. I think he's talking to the woman character at the very beginning of the game.
Tess.
Joel says he doesn't say like we're good people, we're survivors.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he's like
Tess.
very clarifying the difference of them. Yes, Tess. Like there's a very big difference. Like you have to be evil to survive in this world.
And that makes sense, right? And in the
to an extent.
And that makes sense in the case of like in like the reality of it all, right? But in the case of the game, it's like okay, there's like I feel like when it comes to like in terms of like designing a game, right? You only essentially make it when one like your side in mind, right? Where like it's around your characters and such. But it gets more complicated though because at the end of the day, this is like almost a two-sided game where you're gonna be playing as Ellie and as Abby for a majority of the game.
Yeah.
And that like kind of makes it harder when you think about it and how everything around that point ultimately it's like okay, we like as Ellie we see her as the villain, right? And then throughout the game, Ellie with like the vengeance in mind really takes it to the next level as she goes on a rampage essentially to find Abby and get her revenge.
Yeah.
So like she's really like
she's
like then like a villain at that point.
Yeah. Then there's like the whole like people say like it's a cycle of violence started by Joel or whatever. That's the one thing people say.
Yeah, I think that's true. It pretty much isn't. Like Joel, he literally like at the end of the first game, he like just kills like an entire like army of Fireflies and murders the doctors, all just to save Ellie. And then even like if you say it's like to save his daughter, he just lies to Ellie about it for years.
Yeah.
It really like cements that he is a deeply flawed character and he's not doing this out of the goodness of his heart.
Oh yeah. Side note right now, I'm bugging the game out. I'm throwing snowballs as I'm making them. This isn't right.
that was bad.
What?
Yeah, I mean the beginning sequence that was weird. I just wanted to point that out. That was bothering me. All right, keep going.
I'm trying to think what else I would say, but like I feel like Joel also goes through a lot with this game, and maybe that's because of what the actual like writers thought though too, with his behavior, right? And someone else would definitely know like more who's like actually played the game through. Since I have an idea of the story and I've never played through it entirely, but I know what happens. But like his behavior like changed from like the first game, where like in the first game he goes on like that like like let's say at the very end of the game he goes on that like on his own little like rampage to like save Ellie and stuff, and then like I don't even like I'm not entirely sure in the case of the second game, but like his attitude has a change, doesn't it? Where
Okay,
he's
yeah,
kind
okay,
of he
that's
just
that's
gets
the thing with the second game. He suddenly all becomes super nicey nice and helpful in the second game. That's why he saved Abby. It's like, no, that's not Joel. Like Joel would never do the like the whole beginning part with Joel and Tommy. They would never do what they're doing. They straight up
Joel didn't even save the family in the beginning of the apocalypse.
literally, and then even
They
Joel in the
just
beginning,
drove
Joel in the beginning of
by.
the second game, they save Abby and they're like, oh, you guys should come to our base and rearm. Like what? Since when with these two who have been known to be very not nice people in this world are gonna be like, oh, come on, little girl, let's go get you and your entire group of friends who outnumber us into our camp. Let's go refuel you up.
and
Yeah, I
and
definitely
honestly,
think he mellowed out a little too much, for it to be justifiable.
and that's kind of like why his death is just like so messed up because like it's so like unnatural of like how he really is from the first game. And maybe just because like but I don't know, like 4 years in like an apocalyptic scenario, like of keeping yourself alive and doing the right things. Like
Like
I
you
don't
you
think
don't
he would mess
just you
up.
don't just change when you're still
I don't
stuck
know.
doing
I
it.
Well,
don't
the
think he
thing
would just
is-
suddenly change like that.
Well, the thing is, you can see like they actually like form their own like community where it's like people that they have like school and stuff, they have like school dances and stuff like that. So it's like
But
it's
even
kind of
even then
going back to
they still
normal
have people going
society.
out on patrols every day to go kill the infected so they don't overrun.
Yeah, there is still a zombie problem out there. You still need like protection, but like they're not going out to like kill like actual people for the most part. I don't think you really see that in this game at the beginning, at least.
Well, yeah, that's true. In the
Yeah.
beginning, they don't show it. I feel like the whole point of Joel's death was just to put shock value for some reason.
I don't think so.
It just felt so like, oh, hello, it's suddenly, oh, he's dead. Here's your shock value.
I mean, you know what?
Because like,
There
okay,
definitely is
I'll be honest. At the end of the first game, I'm like, okay, if they are making a sequel, they are 100% going to kill him off, and they better do it right. And they did not do it right in this game, not one bit.
You know, and that just could be just bad in terms of like a bad character writing though too.
I don't think it's too bad because the thing you have to remember, Joel is like a bad character. He's not a heroic character. He's very much a bad
Yeah,
person.
true.
And it only makes sense that he dies horrific like death at like almost for like no reason. So it's kind of fitting in that narrative.
That's right.
I guess, but like, I don't know. See, that's part where everyone's mixed on. Because on one point, yeah, Joel is a terrible person, but at the same time, it's like you understand him, so it's like you don't want this for him. You really don't.
Well, you don't want it, and that's what drives. That's why you empathize with Ellie, and that's why it's like you kind of understand why she's going on this like massive like rampage.
But then the game flips that and says, no, you must empathize with Abby now because Joel's a bad man. He's a bad man. You gotta care for this Abby girl I just introduced halfway through your video game.
Yeah, I feel like introducing her at the second half of the game wasn't the correct decision. I heard one take on this by what you call it? Was it Cosmonaut Variety Hour? He says if you made the game, you play as Abby. Play the introduction as Joel, then you play as Abby. You go through like her like a day of in-game time,
Yes.
and then you switch back to Ellie, and then Ellie kills the people who you were just hanging out with Abby. And
Okay,
you would just go
yes.
back and forth.
I literally I remember when this game, after I finished this game, I was talking to Joey and I was saying like, Joey, there's so many better ways they could have done this game. Because this game's filled with flashbacks. Why couldn't I just play this game in chronological order instead of doing a flashback and then a flashback within a flashback?
Yeah, it would have been
Yeah.
better.
It makes it all discombobulated and out of place.
I think a game story has to have like there's definitely a way I see it in terms of I'm gonna go through like the idea of like the journey, right? Where the character like ends up having a purpose, and then they go foresee that purpose, and they ultimately achieve the purpose at the end of the game, right? And they go through the conflict and everything else. But like in this game, like they don't really like you kind of get your purpose after the conflict, which is ultimately not on par with what this this ideal is. And I feel like that's what makes good story writing. At least, and it's simple and it's consistent. But
No, yeah,
maybe that's like what they're
definitely.
going for in this game. They're not going for consistency, and they're kind of going around that, which is why when you as you get to the end, it's like as like Ellie after she has she gets her purpose after the like the major plot point
Yeah.
in the game with
But
like that's the
like
conflict.
I'll give the best example of this. So after the intro with Abby killing Joel and all that, you play as Abby, then she kills Joel, do all that. You start playing as Ellie. You do the Seattle sequence. You get to where Abby confronts you in the movie theater, and then suddenly it cuts to black and like, oh, now you're gonna go back into the past on the day that Joel kills Abby's father, and you're gonna play as Abby now, and it's like, oh, okay. And then you play as Abby until she gets to the point where she fights Ellie, and instead you're playing as Abby instead of Ellie. It's like, why? Why would you make me do this?
Yeah, I don't really like that too. I don't like when they make I mean, like, you know what? But like, how long does it go to like, get to that point in terms of like
Well, to
gameplay?
get
It's
to
like
the,
another 20 hours.
this game's a solid 30 hours in total.
Yeah, 30, 40 hours, somewhere between there.
It's a long game.
So within that timeline, like when you're playing as Ellie and you get to that movie theater, and then it cuts to like the whole other timeline
That whole
to
sequence, right,
get to
that getting
that middle
there is like
point.
20 hours. Solid.
Okay.
You take 20 hours to get there, and you don't even get the satisfaction until you play another about, I'd say, 15 hours as Avi. And it's like, oh. And you don't even get the satisfaction because I remember, and I was watching other videos, like Naked Jakey's videos was saying how linear the game is, where the entire time you want Abby dead no matter what. And if you want to kill Abby in the fight between Ellie and Abby, you don't make a choice. You just get a game over screen and says go back and do it again and get it right this time. It's just
Well, that's a big discussion we could have because games like I feel like with the introduction of like Undertale and people like, oh, you don't have to kill everybody and you
yes.
have like all the choices. Like I feel like everyone feel now like nowadays people feel entitled to like have like, oh, I need to have all the choices. Like if I don't want my characters to do bad things. Meanwhile, in the first game, you definitely do not have any decisions on what Joel does.
Here's what I think. I've talked about this with like my storytelling teacher. Here's what I think. If there's not going to be controversial choices, like there's not going to be controversy or arguments over what happens, don't give it a choice. Like I don't like, even though what Joel did at the end of the first game was horrible, and there might be some people who disagree with it. I've never once met someone who said, "No, I want to go back and let Ellie live." They're like, "Joel did what he did. I understand it. I may not agree with it, but I understand." Like I never heard of anyone who says like they want to have a decision in that choice, because that's not a part that sparks controversy. Because like everyone playing that game, they grew with Ellie as well, so like they also get that feeling that Joel's feeling. They understand it. You know what I mean?
That's true. Like you don't really get to choose like your own adventure in this game. Really, it's
But in
very
like
linear.
But like in this game, you get the complete opposite of that. Everything is so controversial because what happens between Abby and Ellie and switching between the two, and then what happens at the end, you don't even get a choice. It's like, oh.
Like if they allow.
Well, even if
choices,
all right, John, you go.
No, my bad. If they allowed choices, I feel like the game would have been more impactful, in a sense of it. Like, but in terms of like linearity, like in like let's say the first game, right? Imagine that you had the option of like going like, and then like they just followed on the plot line at like with most people would have obviously probably let her like saved her. I feel like they wouldn't have let her go in that regard, or maybe who knows, like in that like dividing factor. Like, but like they would have been like, all right, here, we're gonna like visit that timeline though of like this is like what mainline plot continued, and it was the one where they kept her alive, right? And I feel like that would have made more sense. And this is not like the only game this is like happening to. And I'm gonna say this without like in a game that doesn't even have a choice in the matter, like XCOM. And it's gonna sound like why like XCOM of all games would like I mentioned, like it's a linear game where you're just you're the human race and you're trying to fight aliens off. But most of the player base that and the reason and this is like interesting on like the sequel that they made XCOM 2, most of the player base playing through for the first time did not beat the game. And they lost to the aliens as the story progressed for them. So the sequel, kind of like continued on like from what most people had happened to them, where like, oh, the Earth got invaded, and then you have to like now be like the underground like kind of like freedom fighters to like save Earth from its captors, which is really cool. I think that like kind of was interesting. But in this case, it's like, have you given a game with like this choice, or even in like the second one, if you had given like it choice and maybe a bit more like development time to kind of like flesh out those choices and like those timelines where like the game splits into like alternate paths, I think that would have been better.
I think
I
with,
just
I think
okay,
with it. Oh, sorry. You go, Joe. I forgot you wanted to go
okay.
before.
I disagree entirely. I think gamers are ever since like Undertale since like this kicked off. I mean, there obviously wasn't the first game, but like it definitely kicked off this idea of choice. I feel like nowadays gamers are way too entitled on what they think they should have a decision like every way the game plays, and they don't understand that you're playing as a character, you're not playing as yourself. It's a very big thing that people don't understand.
Yeah, you have a point there. Okay, here's what I think. You don't need to make it full of choices, but I think in this game there should have been at least the choice at the end scene. That's all you need. Just one big choice, I think.
Well, here's the thing. Like,
but here's another
even
thing
if
with
you
that.
do kill, okay,
like,
fine, what?
Like, oh my God, we just keep bullying Joe.
Or Joe, go. You go.
Okay, like here's the thing. Like, even if you do kill Abby, like then what? Ellie still like completely ditched her relationship with Dina. She has nothing left anyway.
That's what I think. That's what I was gonna think with this. Is that they make up this message like, oh, revenge is not worth it. But here's the thing, Ellie never goes through with it, so of course it's not worth it. If you don't go through
matter. She took way too. She literally traveled like across the country and left Dina and her I think she already gave birth at that point. She left all that behind just to go and take her revenge quest. That's way too much. It doesn't matter that she didn't actually go through with it. She left for like 2 months when she had a nice happy family. Abby was gone. She was not coming back, and she went out of her way to do it. And that's what drove apart her. That's what drove the rest of her life away.
Yeah, it was kind of dedicated to that moment.
It just feels like, I don't know, it's just...
She gave all that up in order to pursue her revenge quest, and it cost her in the end. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter whether she went through with it or not. It wouldn't change anything.
Here's what I think. There's like, of course, revenge isn't going to be worth it if you don't go through with it, but it would have been like more of a. Is it provocative? Is the word? What's the word? Spark up questions. I don't know the word, but like
what,
just be like
emotion?
I think, but like it was
provoke a stronger emotion.
Probably, yeah. It could be like if like the players who actually chose to go through with it, they realize what they lost, and it's like, oh, maybe this wasn't worth it. But if everyone's gonna be like, oh, of course it wasn't worth it. I literally got nothing out of this.
I mean, you know what I could say though, in like you actually will like experience that moment, like you like in terms of like, oh, you went through it, everything, and at the end, you didn't kill her, right? That's like how the story goes. And what do you lose for doing it though? You're not allowed to like continue on Joel's legacy through his song that you play throughout the game, right? His theme, I'm pretty sure, right, that you play on the guitar as you like strum along with it. Because at the end of the game, when you're fighting in that water, she bites your fingers off, and you need that whole hand to like create that chord when you're playing the guitar. And then she kind of realizes like, oh, like I can't even do this anymore. Like I can't even like there's no point for me to play the guitar. It's like only one-sided guitar too. It's like if you flip it over, it's not really gonna like be the same.
Maybe that's what they could have done. That if you stopped trying to kill Abby, you at least save the finger, so you save something. You save some part of yourself.
Like a very minor like detail.
Yeah, like it's still part of you. It's part of Joel. Like, you know what I mean?
I still disagree. I still think you should not be given a choice in the matter. It's better. It's much better this way.
I think she kind of like gets that like she like because of that like no choices. Like event happening, she, that's like she realizes like, oh, like after everything I went through, like now I'm seeing like the fault of like my my whole quest in the sense
Yeah,
of what I wanted and seeked
yeah.
for.
At the end of it, she literally has nothing.
Yeah, she really can't. She has nothing left at that point, and she's just going to, at the end she goes look, back, walking out. She leaves the guitar behind because it's just like, all right, I gotta like at this point, I'm gonna leave behind my memories and everything with Joel and just move on to like, potentially like continue my life at that point. And it's just like, damn, like it really sucks. But that's just how that goes. It's emotional when you think about it in terms of Ellie as the main character and like, but I don't know. It's just there's a lot going on.
It's just a very mixed topic
It's just
overall.
very, but like it's like the plot being like pushed by the violence. I can see the point of it, but
I
having
mean, they do
yeah,
present it like very well. Like Abby goes out of her way to kill Joel, and then because of that, Ellie kills literally all of her friends. And it's
But
only because she went out of her way to kill Joel.
she didn't
yeah,
even
but
only
but
kill
then but
all.
then that goes back to the point where it's like Abby presents the only hero in the whole thing because she's the
She's not
only.
a hero.
Yeah, but you see, she's not a hero, but like the game makes you think that way because of how in Abby's storyline you save the two kids who saved her, and then you go against this whole entire war between the wolves and the Seraphites because you were the only person with some form of, I guess, humanity. You want to call it? I don't know.
Also, like in regards of like Abby's like gameplay too, like Ellie doesn't like. Okay, like, I'm gonna say like this is one thing too I've noticed where like it's like something small. Like as Abby, like you get to play with like the dogs and stuff, and I feel like that's like a manipulation in the fact
Yeah,
that
that
when
that
you
is a
play
thing.
through
It's
it,
very slight emotional manipulation where, as Ellie, you pet no dogs, but you get to murder them all. You get to stab them all.
You kill the dogs as Ellie?
Yeah, yep,
you
Yeah.
yep.
you
I
just
mean,
go.
it's self-defense, but yeah.
But like,
Oh.
okay. So here's the thing with that. I remember I was another thing which from Nikki Jakey's video that one of the dogs you kill it in a cutscene. You're forced to do it, so he felt no emotional from it. But then there was another dog where he was just like walking around and then he ran into it, so then he killed it. And then one of the humans called out its name and he was like, "Oh my God, wait! I just killed a dog when I could have avoided him." Like that's
No,
like that's
that's
an like
horrible.
that's an emotional moment. Not where it's like, "Oh, I'm forced to kill a dog in a cutscene." Oh. Thanks,
But like,
game.
it's also like you could also like see that as just like maybe like as a player, like you could also just like shrug it off. I don't know. Like I'm trying to think what other things like have been
Cause
like
like
shrugged
it's in a
off.
quick time event, so it's like I don't feel emotion in a quick time again because it's not my choice. I'm forced to
That's
do
true.
this.
I mean,
Well, you
like
should.
they
Like you're
will
doing it of
force
no
it.
volition of your own.
Well, if you didn't do it, your other choice would be to die, because
Yeah,
you don't have it, because and then the game obviously is not going to go like that. It's better with no. I really feel like it's better with no choice.
but you know what? Like I don't feel like that choice. Like I, like let's say
Like
like
that.
oh like
Like
I don't
that's
get a
not a major choice. That one.
I don't get a choice in COD when the dog runs up on me in like the story mode and it starts biting at
Well,
my
you're an
ass.
actual soldier in that
But
game.
you're an
Yeah, now
actual
that's
soldier.
different. Now
Yeah.
you're a normal soldier. You're made. You're technically made to kill.
But like at that point, like you don't feel bad for the dog.
I mean,
Still?
yeah, I feel. I mean, me as a person, I feel bad, but like even though they're virtual dogs, and I try to avoid it if possible, but
It's part of the It's part of the
what's the choice?
narrative.
You
You're a
can't
soldier
avoid
to
it
attack a
really.
dog. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. At the end of the day, with this game and like everything going on, I don't know. Revenge really like isn't worth it. I think with like Ellie's case, but she goes through it and it just sucks.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think like there's a lot of missed potential. A lot of like things were like, with like the storyline like not being consistent and straightforward through, like all be like, there's like a lot of like points to miss out through it. Like maybe Paul, you would know more about this with Danny in this case.
Oh yeah, the Danny guy. Yeah, there's one of Abby's friends. They mentioned Danny, but on Abby's side, they don't mention him at all. And I went through it replaying again, and then it's like, oh, Owen and Danny went on a mission together, and then it's like they haven't come back yet, and it's like, oh, okay, I guess that's where they mentioned Danny, but he wasn't in the prologue or anything. That's the only time he's mentioned where he was out on a mission with Owen, and I was confused about it. So I went like looking up on Reddit and stuff. People said like, oh, the shock value was supposed to be that Owen might be dead too. And then you find
it'd
out,
be, like,
oh, then you find out, oh no, he's
2
not actually dead. He actually killed Danny. It's like, oh, okay, I guess. I don't know who Danny was, and I got one scene with Owen before, so I don't know.
See, like, there's like very strange like development process this game seemed to have had in terms of stuff. Like, this game took how long to make, as opposed to like, let's say, The Last of Us 1. I
Okay,
don't
this
even know
game
how long.
only they rushed the development so bad with this game. It only took about 2 years to make, or it was like 3 years. It was 3 years, but then because it got delayed, it turned into 4 years, and then it was all that's a whole train wreck to get into.
I see.
Yeah, I definitely.
Because I know the whole story. I was looking it up. I was reading it up. So what happened was, okay, it was this whole entire problem with development rooted all the way back from Uncharted 2 technically, because after Uncharted 2, you know, Bruce Straley and Neil Druckmann, the two directors who were making the Uncharted series, they actually split into two different teams. Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley, they were gonna go work on The Last of Us after Uncharted 2. And then there was going to be another team for Uncharted 3. Amy, I forgot her last name, and she was gonna direct Uncharted 3 all on her own, and that's turned out that was why Uncharted 3 was a little bit different than the other games. So then right after they both finished their respective games, Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley, they were gonna go work on The Last of Us 2, but then while Amy was working on Uncharted 4, she decided to leave the studio, so then they were like, oh, we need someone to work on this game. So they took Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley's whole team, and they're like, okay, everyone, we gotta go work on Uncharted 4. And then they started working on that. And then after they finished Uncharted 4, they made Uncharted Lost Legacy within like the next year. And then they decided, okay, now this entire like 450 people team, it's 2017, we are going to work on The Last of Us 2 now, and we're going to finish it by mid-2019. Somehow.
And at that point, like, weren't they kind of like they were rushed to like put this game out too?
Yeah, there was a lot of crunch time management.
Yeah, and that was the thing, because they were only doing it 2 years, and the entire team quickly shifted to this game to start it from scratch in 2 years. It's like, that's completely unrealistic, when the first game took about 3 to 4 years to make. So why would you make a game with double the length, double the mechanics, and increase like graphics and all that stuff, and make them do it in half the time?
Yeah, that's definitely a failing of management.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, another thing while we're talking about production, yeah, obviously, yeah, crunch is bad. I mean, it's kind of expected in the video game industry, but even that's not a good thing. That shouldn't be the norm. But yeah, that happens. But even then, it's like even worse. Like, I've heard stories that
people
like,
were like getting hospitalized over this game.
Yeah, well, yeah, one thing I heard like that's very disturbing, that in order to get like the gore like just right in the game, they kind of force the like art directors to watch like snuff films of like actual live videos of people getting like crushed and shot or whatever. Yeah, they actually force them to watch it in order to get the gore just right. That's what I heard.
I completely forgot about that being a part.
Yeah, I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, and it's absolutely atrocious that this game got like Game of the Year or something for something or another. Even though that's very much a failure of management.
You really made your employees go through all that.
And you can't press charges for that, because I don't know if that could count as trauma.
No, it's part of their contract.
Yeah, it would be kind of hard to prove.
It's okay. You know the worst thing about this? Ghost of Tsushima came out the same year. Literally one of the most beautiful games I have played in a very, very long time. And I cried over that ending so hard. God, that was amazing. Please give it the award it's due.
And who made that? Wait, but Naughty Dog didn't make that game.
No, it wasn't. No, it was Sucker Punch, the guys who made like Sly Cooper and stuff.
Oh right, yeah.
Oh, Sly Cooper.
Don't both those companies work together though in some way?
Not that I know of. I don't think.
You know what? Maybe I'm thinking. Honestly, they just have similar like.
They just have similar like back when they started. They were kind of similar where.
Yeah.
Naughty Dog had Crash Bandicoot and they had Sly Cooper, and then they decided, all right, we're gonna go make more realistic games now.
Right. Yeah, and then Insomniac also had Ratchet and Clank, and them and Naughty Dog, they often referenced each other in each other's games.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're right about that. Um, I don't know. Maybe like honestly, like in regards of like how kind of rushed things were, like it just makes me wonder, like, could the game have just been done with that? Like, just you could have kept everything the same, maybe, but just not made Abby as the playable character. Like, I'm just curious. Like, do you think like in that case it might, and you can like, and instead of like going through her story and like seeing how like everything was on her side, like you'd be able to find like journals and stuff maybe, and they would like explain like her story and like the things that she's gone through ultimately, and like that could have like
I
made the
think that was
game
definitely a
not
possible way to do it.
not like the double-sided coin or the double-sided edge
Yeah,
sword.
like Abby's stuff felt really like just last minute. Like they needed to put in like, okay, wait a minute, guys. Now what if? Now, it's crazy, but what if we make you play as the villain at the same time, the girl you hate the most? It's crazy, right? And then, we're gonna watch her get in a relationship and then do her own side stuff. Meanwhile, the character you actually like, you just want to get them killed.
Oh, don't
I
even.
understand the argument, but I feel like the main problem is that they just didn't like do it properly. Like
Yeah,
the
no,
vast majority of Abby's story, it's very unrelated to Ellie's story, and that's like the
Yeah.
whole thing with the Seraphites and like all the other stuff.
the
It's
wolves,
very
and all that.
disconnected, and it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like here's what I think. Here's one point. I remember. I think Nakey Jake also pointed this out in his video that Ellie never sees Abby's side of the story, so she has no reason to sympathize with her or even like let her live or anything. We are the only ones who saw her story.
Well, okay. Here's another thing I've heard that the reason Ellie eventually spares Abby, it's not for Abby's sake or because
It's
Ellie
just,
wants to be a good person. There's a line she says. She says, "And take him with you." And I heard like she's not
Really.
really talking about Lev. She's talking about Joel, how she needs to like accept his death
no,
and just
no,
move
no.
on with her
She
life.
what's it
That's what I've
called?
heard.
No, she's talking about Lev because Lev's a dude, I
I
think.
don't know about that. I really think she's talking about Joel, and she's just telling him, "Okay, just leave, get out of my life, and I take Joel with you. I need to move on."
I
I
think she
could see that. Yeah.
see that being
Now
the
I
case.
understand that.
I could definitely see that being the case, but I feel like that might be more when like she realizes the guitar and like that moment she just leaves it.
Well, no, well, while you're like right, what you call it, like at the end of that big fight, you
Yeah.
see a flashback to Joel, and I forgot. I forgot what the conversation was about, and I think it might have been like forgiveness or something like that. It's
Okay.
relevant to what's going on right
Okay,
now.
yeah. The flashback is that while she's literally choking out Abby under the water, she suddenly flashes back to Joel just sitting on a porch with the guitar, and then she just flashes back in. And it's like, never mind, leave. I'm cool. I'm cool now.
Does Joel say anything in that scene in
It,
that flashback?
okay, Joel doesn't say anything until like after Ellie and Abby leave and they go their separate ways, and then
And they
and
have
then
like
and
that
then it's supposed to be the
cutscene.
moment where Ellie actually is like, "Okay, Joel, I forgive you for what you did." Or like, or like, no. Okay, what happened was literally the day before Joel died, Ellie was like, "Okay, I'm ready to move on and forgive you," and then it's like, no, he actually dies. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna, and especially in that case where it's like, okay, now they're gonna like work on it and then like move forward from it too, and then it's like taken away from her.
I feel like I feel like it makes sense in that context. Like she brings back to that like last conversation she had with Joel, and she thinks like, "Is this what I want to do?"
But do you think like if because of like how everything's like chopped up and placed in different areas, like obviously like that might have made more sense like at the time in the middle, if right before like if Joel like had that moment and the next day happened and you go through that, you know?
You're talking about the presentation of the flashback?
Yeah, or like yeah,
Well,
like
the thing is, it's a flashback, so like obviously Ellie already knows. Obviously, Ellie already knows it, and she already remembers it. But the way it's played to you, it's to make the scene flow more correctly. I think.
I mean that makes sense. No, you know what it is? I think though too. Like, what if they just played the story out normally, right? And that scene, you get to see it as a player, that scene, and then you go get the flashback at the end, and then it makes sense because of it.
Yeah, they could have done that.
I feel like that.
But I actually, well, the thing with that is, I think they like throughout the majority of the game, they want you like guessing. It's like, okay, did Joel ever tell Abby not Abby, Ellie the truth about what happened with the Fireflies? And you kind of don't know for like a large portion of Ellie's story.
That's
So
only
it's
that's
like
only until like the halfway through her point where it reveals like she went back to the hospital and found out about it.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot. Like this game is like, but like because of all this, that's why like there's so much going on. There's so much controversy to talk about, you know.
Yeah.
And like you don't get that in like the first game, really. Like the first game, you really just get that moment of like it was a great game, and that's what people get to play. You know, they get to enjoy. Like maybe this game was like kind of meant to like be the divider, you know. Like
Well, they didn't want. I feel like the idea is they didn't want to just make the same game again because that'd be kind of boring. They had to try and take it in a new direction.
yeah, I feel like that is definitely important in the game because like you know what, like they have to make people like have that shock value from something, and then like that gets them more invested into it, and that really makes them like passionate about like the quest, you know.
Yeah, like Joel's death is the catalyst for the whole game.
I
It
think
really
it's
takes
just
it
done
there.
just too poorly to make it work.
I don't know. Maybe
It could have been played out totally differently, and I think it would have been potentially great.
You know what? I'm actually curious too, like in regards of like the characters, like like when within like each character's like groups settings, right? Like like how far does it get fleshed out to? Like, I mean, like I'm only bringing this up though because like there's a lot going on like both sides with things, so like you're gonna get invested in it on
Okay,
like both
Abby's
sides if you
side,
take
you
it there.
get like nothing. You get literally
Well,
nothing.
you say that
Yeah,
though,
the
but
side
then there's the
characters do
entire.
not get any development or
Well, listen, you
characterization.
say that, but there's an entire meme of a sexual scene that happens.
Okay, because that's the only
in the
one that gets
community.
developed, and even then, I thought it was crap.
And do you think it was forced?
I think it was super forced because they try to hype up this relationship with this dude, but the dude is literally her ex, and the dude is also currently in a relationship with another woman, and that woman is also pregnant. I don't know about you, but I'm
Don't
not.
both sides have a pregnant like?
Well,
Person?
it goes back to the idea that everyone is a bad person. I feel like,
But then-
although I do feel like the sex scene is like very unnecessary.
But even then, like it didn't make me like want me to like this character even more. It made me hate him more. If anything, it's like, wow, this character is an ass. I
Yeah,
can't
it's
wait
very
till he
I can say
dies.
that.
I
If you think of
said
it
a bad
like
word
simply
again,
like
Lulu.
where, if you think of it simply though, where it's like, all right, we love Ellie and we're playing as her now, and then like we like Joel a lot, and then Abby kills Joel, and then like we're gonna play as Abby, and then we have to go through something that we didn't really want to see because it was like forced, and now it's like in the initial like first week of the game, and like people going through it and they stream it on Twitch and stuff, which honestly that was hilarious with the terms of like just thinking about like oh my god,
Oh,
on
no.
Twitch like has stuff they're never supposed to show things like that, and it just happens because it's just a story. Like, just like that was so like definitely like, which to me I think that's like hilarious. Like watching clips over people freaking out over it, but whatchamacallit, just like that moment, it's just like oh my god, like
It's
why am I
such an
doing this?
unnatural
It's just so
moment.
like it's just so
Because also it's like they're
irritating.
they're in the middle of
Like,
fighting, and then they're stunned. They look at each other like, Abby, oh, and then they just go for it. And it's like, why?
Like,
What?
sex scenes in media, they're rarely, if ever, presented like in a good
yeah, I
manner.
think they're not presented like that. I think that was
They
also
don't-
just a weird. I mean, and maybe that's because these people were going through, like, in the development process of the game, like they, these snub films and stuff. Like,
No,
maybe I don't
I
know.
think it's just they don't justify the scene doesn't justify its existence because it doesn't really give you anything. I mean, if anything, it just tells you that they're still in love or something.
I
Other
get
they-
it.
than
or they just
that,
have a
it doesn't really
Yeah.
provide much.
Pretty much, because then that becomes a whole plot point that it's like, oh, they're for some reason still in love, I guess, even though Mel's pregnant, and then it starts a whole subplot of like, oh yeah, Abby wants to be with Owen for some reason, even though here's the problem, you never find out why they broke up in the first place. You only get one scene of their relationship. You get one scene and then they kiss, and then you never hear about it again until they have the sex scene. It's like, what? But like, why don't you tell me about what happened between them? What happened? Did like Did they have a falling out? What was the falling out? Did they have an
You know
amazing
what?
relationship? Like,
Maybe that's just because it was rushed, and like that's could be like if they had more time, like the extra year maybe to flesh the game out, or like the extra 2 years to flesh the game out. That could have maybe like they could have fleshed it, given each like the smaller points that like they skip over and stuff, like things that were definitely just like, all right, you know what, like we're not gonna care about this, like we're just gonna keep going, and make everything kind of like connected and such, and like give more like back like previous plot info on, and like a bit of detail for there. I think it could have like fleshed out stuff. But
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of fluff in this game that doesn't really need to be in there. The stories should be like way more connected, but they really aren't, and that's one of the worst things about this game, if not the worst.
yeah. Like some of the side characters on Abby's end, like I forgot the first one's name, like Josh or something.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And
Yeah.
and they try to develop him that, oh, look at him, he has a girlfriend, but you never meet the girlfriend at one point, so it's like, oh, okay, I just get a full, literally the only thing you get of this girl is that, oh, here's a nudie photo of her that she gave to the boyfriend after you killed him. It's like, oh,
What?
yes.
Oh yeah, that's really weird. Like, why?
What?
A Polaroid,
That's a little
literally a Polaroid
weird.
nudie photo. It's like, oh, okay.
That's honestly so bad. It's hilarious.
What's the point of that?
It's brilliant development, Did
It's
you?
to show like they're connected and that these are real people too, but it's not done properly at all.
Did you know, guys? If you have a nudie photo of a girl, you are in a relationship with her, of course.
I mean,
guys.
that's kind of what like sometimes like people do that in the military. Like the way it's done in this game, it's not.
It doesn't
not
In
right.
the military? What?
Okay, in the military, yeah, that makes sense why they do that, because they're gone for like they're gone for months,
When there's,
potentially
like,
years.
The thing I would say, like, if you're not like understanding that part, it's always like, oh, like okay, like just like stupid things, like oh, like how like they draw like an attractive woman like on a side of a plane in like World War II, like entertainment medias, and like films, like that's.
Oh
like,
yeah, I did
like
I
those
did an
kind of
assignment
things.
about World War II propaganda, and there was this adult cartoon for the men to be interested yet educated, with like sexual themes, with
Exactly.
Private Snafu, I believe it was.
Snifu, something like that.
Something like that. Saber Spark did a video on it. It was a really good video.
Alright, but like that's like the point of it though, where it's like, oh, like.
But
I'll
here's
see you when
here's
you
the
get
thing with that
home.
couple. They were only away from each other. They were supposed to only be away from each other for 2 weeks. It's like you can't live for 2 weeks.
I mean, you never know
No.
what's gonna happen though in the zombie apocalypse. Like, come on. I mean, anything could happen. Clearly.
I mean,
especially
yeah,
Ellie's-
that John
Ellie's
has a
coming after
point.
you.
Like,
Okay, I
he-
don't get.
that
Okay,
could
I don't
be
mean I don't mean live as in like a survivor. I mean like live like you can't be apart for 2 weeks.
Well, the thing is, they could die at any point, so they don't want to be apart.
It's
And
also
John does
just,
make a
like,
good
it's,
point.
It's one of those like something to remember me by, and it's
Yeah, exactly.
like just keep me in mind. It's like
Always my. I remember it's like she's like, I'm thinking of the photos like
I don't know, I
always
mean-
remember my honey bun Josh. Always remember my right
You're
boob.
gonna make me choke up.
Always remember my right
Sorry,
boob,
it's not my
Josh.
fault. It's not my fault. I don't know. It's just one of those like, yeah, I can't defend the point.
What was that noise?
Ew.
What was that?
I give up. In that
What
regard.
was that noise that just came out?
I give up. I give up. I don't know. You
We
forced,
just bullied him into stopping.
you forced my hand. I've given up. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, listen. This is a game that like it was controversial in so many ways, and I knew it. And I think that's like really. I think that really is just like what leaves it off at that point, though. Like I still, but like I don't know. I still like. I thought like the first one was much better. I think in terms of like some of the stuff that was going on, like in terms of graphics and everything else we kind of like mentioned before with the pros, like that stood out more. And I think the cons just outweigh it though. And I think the
Tremendously.
controversy.
Yeah,
just,
I think so too.
kind of make it where it's like okay, like I don't know, but like you know what? Like, do you feel like this game also like this game was award winning, right?
This game won
Yeah,
so many
it was.
awards, it was disgusting.
Yeah, I disagree with them winning so many awards. It's kind of
Okay,
I
I
also
only
kind of-
think there should have been 2 awards. There should have been like 3 awards won: accessibility, sound design, And give Ashley Johnson an award, please. Please give this poor girl an award that she deserves. Not Laura Bailey. Laura Bailey, you're pretty good, but like, yeah, I don't think so this time. I think Ashley Johnson kind of kicked you out for this one.
What other games were like competing against it, though? I mean, I know like Ghost of
Tsushima. Literally, like, I don't think I need to say more than that.
But like besides those two,
I don't remember.
Final Fantasy VII.
Oh
remake.
yeah, Final Fantasy VII. Literally, like what?
I don't know.
I haven't played that game, so or Ghost, so I can't comment on them.
I can't comment. You know what? I've seen
I
a
can.
bit of Ghost, and the Ghost looks cool.
Ghost
and Final
is
Fantasy
one
VII,
of the most fun games ever.
Final Fantasy VII, from what I've seen, it's like very drawn out fighting and such. Like,
well, that's the thing. You can
you can pick between the classic mode where it's turn-based, or you could do real time.
Okay.
Yeah, like, it's up to
so
you.
it still has classic aspects to it, but modern aspects.
Modern like game, like
yeah. I personally think that game should have won a lot of awards on top of Ghost. Ghost definitely deserved a lot of awards.
I never had a game hit me so hard with that. Like, oh my god, please! It made me so sad watching. It won it literally Ghost of Tsushima won no awards, won nothing, and I'm like, how?
I don't know what to say at that point. I don't know, but you know what? I'm curious what games there were against. I'm gonna look into it for a second. Is in reality, you guys can keep talking and maybe come up with some other points that we can go over. But I need to look into this.
Well, the fan base became so rabid to the point they didn't understand that there's this disconnect between an actor and a character, and people were literally sending death threats to Laura Bailey through email, Instagram, you name it, saying they're going to kill her kids and family.
Yeah, that was
for Abby.
That was far.
She was trending on Twitter one night, and the whole voice acting community came together to try and comfort her because it was horrendous what they were saying to her, saying that they were gonna SWAT her, they were going to kill her kids, kill her husband, kill her family. It was. There's just no disconnect with these people, and it was absolutely disgusting. I can't even imagine how she felt that night. Just immense paranoia for her family's safety.
Do you think that was one of the reasons why she got the award, that they everyone felt bad for her, they were just give it to her, I guess?
No, I don't think that's the reason.
It could be like a sympathetic thing.
Here,
like,
I'm looking at
this same thing kind of happened with in the last Last Jedi, the actress who plays Rose, she got people sending her all kinds of nasty messages. She deleted her
don't
social
tell me
media
she won
accounts.
an award.
I don't know if she won an award, but
I don't know.
this same thing happened. People sending, just because people hated the character, people were sending the actual actress hate mail and things.
Okay.
Acting like it was her fault.
I hated that movie, but and she was a terrible part, but I would not send death threats or jeez, that's far. That's much.
It's the same thing with Kristen Stewart in Twilight. People hated Bella, and they would bully the hell out of her, and it was really sad.
Yikes.
I get you hate Bella, but you can't bully the actor for acting as a character. They're not
bully
the character.
Bully the writers.
No, you shouldn't bully anyone.
I mean, the writers are the people who make them like that. I feel
well, no, Paul. We don't endorse bullying anyone.
It's true.
You shouldn't send death threats. You shouldn't bully anyone over media.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what? I'm looking at some of the stuff for the game of the year. I found a list of the stuff for the winners and everything, and the categories. There wasn't a lot, let's say Game of the Year, right? There wasn't a lot really going on. This is what they had in Game of the Year. You had the new Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I don't know why that was there.
That, I don't even know why that was there.
I don't know why Animal Crossing was there. I was dumb. And then
Final Fantasy, Ghost of Tsushima, Hades, and then The Last of Us.
Hades is very popular.
Okay, Hades, I feel like
Hades is good.
Okay, all of those except for The Last of Us, Animal Crossing, I felt like were good picks for it.
And he's still moving.
I think Hades could have potentially won it.
I think Hades is a great game though. But you know what I saw a second ago? In the best indie game, it was Hades, as opposed to things like Fall Guys
Carrion,
Fall
Spelunky
Guys,
2,
yeah.
Spelunky 2, and Spiritfarer, which I don't even know what that one is. But
What about Among Us?
Shut up.
if
Shut
you-
up.
Shut
speaking
up.
speaking of Among Us, if you go to the best mobile, it's there.
Well,
It's
yeah,
the
because what other mobile game are you gonna pick? Let's be
one.
real.
Legends. I don't know. Do you
Clash
got, there's-
Royale.
there's-
No, Wild Rift, guys.
Wait,
Gotta pick
wasn't-
Wild Rift.
No,
Wait, wasn't Genshin Impact
I do see
competing for-
Genshin
No,
Impact.
no, I think.
Oh,
no.
come on. You need to tell me that Genshin Impact didn't win over Among Us.
I
I'm
think
gonna be
it's
real
just-
here. Among Us kind of wins over that.
I
No,
think in
because
terms
Genshin
of, like-
Impact is actually beautiful.
Also,
If you've played that game for 5 minutes, it's pretty much anime The Legend of Zelda.
Also,
I
Genshin,
think-
Genshin
yeah.
Impact isn't only on the mobile. Usually, when they say mobile, they mean like only on a mobile phone.
But Among Us is on Steam. So your argument is invalid.
Shit, you're right. I forgot about that. Ah, cursing! Ah!
Right. Tried your best. I don't know,
I'm
but you know, like,
trying
Animal
hard,
Cro-
okay? It's because I'm talking about this game, and this game.
But
makes
as
me
I'm
wanna
looking at it though
scream.
too, it's all right. Like the best family game was like Animal Crossing. Like that makes sense, you know.
Family?
Yeah,
What?
Well, what other
Like,
family
the-
game
the
are you gonna
worst-
have Among Us?
You need to buy no, but like
well,
I'm
let's say- I see, like-
thinking something like Mario Party, Mario Kart, one
They're
where
all
you
terrible.
There was
I
no
don't know about
Mario Party or
Kart.
Mario
Well, no,
Kart.
one when I think of best family game, I think of a game where you can only use one copy but multiple controllers, not constantly buy $60 copies of one game and then play together.
But then technically, then Smash is a family game, but I don't know if you call it.
Smash is a family game.
Or
I
not-
would say it's a family game.
Or not, not Smash. Think of someone else. Saying something else.
'Cause it brings people together.
Then technically, you can call COD a family game because I can get all my friends in a room and we could all play COD split screen. the
Yeah.
best family game of them all.
That's a great
Call of
family
Duty.
game.
Oh,
I
there's
agree.
There's a lot of awards that were like at this event though.
You just unlocked a vague memory, Paul. Thank you.
A vague? What do you mean a vague memory? What does that mean?
I was over my neighbor's house and we played like Black Ops 1 together or something like that on his TV. Thank you for unlocking that memory. I did not remember.
Yeah, honestly, that's kind of really it. Like the
Caitlin
last,
will remember this.
I just want to see like in terms of, for things that Last of Us won, it was Game of the Year, and then they won Best Game Direction, right? They won Best Narrative. They also won
This is all the second
Best
game or
Audio
the first
Design.
game?
the second game. The second game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then we have Best Performance with Laura Bailey as Abby. And that's kind of really it. That's all I really see. Oh no, in innovation in accessibility. All right, that's the thing.
Oh,
you
yeah,
mentioned before.
that one they get.
And then Best Action Adventure, which makes sense. As a well, actually, let's see what there was.
What was
You had
the
Assassin's
competition?
Creed Valhalla, Ghost of Tsushima, Marvel's
Alright.
Spider-Man Miles Morales, Ori and the Will of the Wisp, and Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Okay, come on. You had like 3 good other ones there.
There's a lot of good choices here. I think
Who
Go
won
with a lot going on.
2019?
2019.
Uh,
Oh, I don't remember.
Death Stranding?
No, I wish. God, I wish.
no.
I wish.
I mean, listen, it's not like best simulation strategy game was Microsoft Flight Simulator. Come on.
I think 2019. What was?
It was Sekiro.
Sekiro. Wait, Sekiro won Game of the Year. What?
Yeah, Sekiro won Game of the Year
Sekiro,
in
yeah, Sekiro
2019.
did stuff.
I'm actually
Sekiro-
surprised because Sekiro kind of
Good
died
stuff.
off really fast.
God of War won 2018.
Yeah,
Oh,
God of War was. I mean,
Boy.
me and Paul have talked about it before, and I told Paul that like, in terms of the story, the game was great, and then like they just cut out like the old school style of the gameplay that like kind of made it like, and I think it's because Paul, you played on a hard difficulty, right?
No, I played on normal.
Oh, all right, yeah.
I hated
so like
that.
the game
I'll be
felt
real, I
like very
hated it.
like choppy.
I hated the
As like
game.
if you played like the originals, where it's like it's kind of like you're not like over the shoulder like that.
It's a hack and
third-
slash, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
the
like it
originals.
made more sense because things were getting like murdered like way faster in the other games, as opposed to like you're in like that behind like your shoulder. Like if they kept that style and they put it into this game, they like did like the cutscenes and stuff like over your like in the moment of like there. I think that would have been good for that game, but I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
they
like my
definitely
opinion.
feel like two very different games. The original
They
God of War and the
really
remake.
are.
The
Yeah, and
new-
now they're
newer
gonna make
games.
now they're gonna make a new one soon
It's completely
because
unrelated.
Because they wanted to go for the
pushing
Naughty
it.
Dog formula, guys.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Did we mention that last week? I don't.
kind of,
We did.
Okay, we did.
or we did, yeah.
We mentioned it. I think we mentioned it briefly. We didn't go too in depth into it.
But
I don't remember.
what like
in regards of just like what like when we talk about the Naughty Dog formula, what were you talking about exactly?
How pretty much every Sony exclusive game now is okay. You have this very linear story that's very story driven, and
And it's made by Naughty Dog. Or
see they're heavily Naughty Dog inspired. Like what was it?
oh
Days Gone. That was heavily Naughty Dog inspired, but then like that did horrible. So
oh
they were
okay
gonna make a
so
sequel. Like recently they announced they were gonna do a sequel, and then it got canceled. And then they were gonna do an
Okay.
Uncharted spin-off that also got canceled. And now they're doing a remake of the first Last of Us for reasons unknown. Still trying to figure that one out. Taking a while.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, with everything going on, like, did they ever like get down to the bottom like of what happened at the company, though, after everything with this game?
What do you mean? What do you mean? Like what happened in production, or like?
Yeah, and like, well, cause like people came out and talked about everything at the end, right? And like they were kind
Yo,
of
it's
like on
Uncharted
Reddit.
2. I found an Uncharted 2 in this game.
Of course you did.
All right, we'll keep continue.
But just like uh, with like, cause like didn't like people from the company talk about things on Reddit like
On
after
Twitter
the
and
game?
all, yeah. I read about a guy who got hospitalized from overexhaustion because they work like 14 hours days, and it's like, dude, what?
I don't know, like a lot of things like nowadays, like they expect like a lot of work out of you at these like huge corporations. I think like someone at like Disney like missed like the birth of like their own child or something in like for like in The Incredibles 2
Yes,
because they were like pushing
they had
it
to
too
crunch
far.
over, and they were like, okay, you're literally going to miss the birthing of your child for this movie. It's like, oh, okay.
I don't know, like they don't like, and this is my point. Like, there's a reason why you need to add maybe like another year, or like another couple months, because like things like this,
Okay,
you know.
you know what I think it is? I think management and stuff, like the higher ups, they don't know the deadlines because they don't work with they like don't know how it works and all that. That's what I
Do you think it's like maybe it's just like because they don't work with like realistic deadlines though?
I think so.
Like they
I
don't
think
like
it's
add another
more
year.
that the higher ups they're just trying to sell the game and make money, and putting more effort into the game
Yeah.
isn't going to increase their sales, so they don't feel it's justified.
It might just be like there's like no like communication from the top of like a company though too with like executives, and then like the lower end of like the people who are actually going to like put a lot of effort to like make the product, and that's kind of just like an issue in itself.
Yeah.
And then you just this is why like you see things that like come out like I don't know, I'm about to like talk about this again with like Square Enix and like this game they produced recently, Cabal or whatever it is,
Valin Wonderworld.
where
Oh
yeah,
no!
Here we go again.
No.
because but like how big is Square Enix as a company? You know,
Massive. What are the biggest Japanese
Um,
companies now?
I would say it's big.
They're like top 5 Japanese companies now. Up there with like Capcom and
But like
Sony.
my question is like how many people like do you think are employed at that company?
Thousands.
Oh,
Tens of thousands.
I can actually look that up right now.
Yeah, if you could look it up really fast, because that would just be like great to like. I'm just curious because they
Oh,
definitely
yeah,
have a lot of people working on a lot of
forgot.
stuff.
To talk about that sex scene we mentioned earlier, I forgot Abe's is not the only one. I forgot Ellie has like a.
As of March
soft
31st,
one.
2020, there are over
Like-
5,000 employees.
So here's my question with like 5,000 employee, and I'm not saying like in the case of like Naughty Dog, right? In the like, cause I don't like their studios
Wait,
like
quick pause. Am
smaller.
I allowed to show weed if it's in the video game? They're in a weed place. They're in a weed garden.
I think it's just a video game.
I should go with the video game.
I think it's just a video game at that point. Also, like nowadays, like there's a lot of stuff going on with like medical marijuana and things like that. But
True.
like I'm just moving on from that point though. But if you have like 5,000 people working at your company, right? To write 5,000 is what you said, right? Correct me if I'm
About
wrong.
5,000. 5,077.
Okay, so around 5,000, right? So with around like 5,000 people at a company like that, like you should be able to make multiple projects and have a lot of stuff going on, right? So like a game like whatever this monstrosity of the game was,
You know, like that's just like a yikes. And I haven't seen a game this bad, and or even like more over
Considering
the
that the
top.
final boss causes seizures,
Seizures, yeah.
Oh god.
and
That
I don't
is
even think the
something.
day one patch helped that.
I don't. I mean, I'll be completely honest. I don't even think like this. But here's my question, or here's my point too, though.
Did no one test that? Like, did no one even test this game to find that out?
I don't even think this game should have like in the way it was.
I don't
And
think it should have been released.
I think it should have had a Cyberpunk. I think it should have just been like unreleased and like taken annual refunds should have been given out, and they should have finished the game and then just re-released it, and then you know, and then people could have been like, but you know, at that point the damage is done, and you know, it's like I don't know.
Okay.
There were a lot of fans saying that they should have pushed the game back.
I mean, they should have pushed this thing back by like a year.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
the
that's
same
the
thing
thing,
with
it's the
Animal
higher ups
Crossing.
making
Animal
decisions.
Crossing just felt so unfinished.
Which one, the new one?
Yeah, New Horizons.
I felt like, there's definitely like you know what like I didn't like about New Horizons where like your equipment your tools break. I did not like that, and I know it's like in the other games your tools would break and stuff too, and then you'd get like new ones, but, or eventually you'd get like the point of like oh here's the golden version and it never breaks, you know, and or like the upgraded versions and like they were better, and like same thing in this case, but like they just were like oh everything's gonna break and you just gotta get used to it, and like that's just like an annoyance that I didn't like with that kind of game in the sense of it. But I don't know, in a game like this, like there was a lot going on with it.
Yeah. Okay, one thing with the higher ups, I remember like, 'cause my dad tells me all the time that if I'm gonna go into game development or such things like that, I should be like a product manager to make sure everyone's staying up with deadlines and stuff.
That's true.
But he says be like knowledgeable in that stuff, and I think a lot of the higher ups now they aren't knowledgeable in that stuff, so they give these unrealistic deadlines. They give them earlier so that it's like they don't be lazy and sit around and do nothing. But here's the thing: I see it all the time. If you hire people who are actually passionate about their game development, they will actually get these things done very quickly. Like I've been working on my final project nonstop for the past 2 weeks. I've been coding nonstop almost every day. If you have passionate people, they will work on it and get it done by your deadline.
Yeah, I think that matters.
And then don't make it too early where it's like, oh, we need to work out every single kink. Because coding is not easy. You mess up one line of code, your entire thing is screwed up and you need to go back and fix everything. The same thing with a video game. You mess up one tiny thing, you fix a lot.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a big thing because especially since it's such a big company, like I feel like there's a disconnect and they don't feel like I said before they don't feel the need to make the game great. They just want to get it's good enough. It's good enough to release. Let's just send it out.
Can they get money out of it? Yes. All right, go.
You know what my thing too is like there's in like communities now like of gamers, right, and just normal like people trying to get into games for the first time, like there's such a high expectation for like a product. So nowadays it's like people who are like really developing these games, like they really can't like they can top certain things, but they can't top everything unless they put in a lot of time, right? Look at Cyberpunk. It was like the expectation and like the point of like marketing hype for it so high that at the end of the day when we were getting closer and closer to the release of the game, like, and people were showing legitimate gameplay footage of it, or I think they were getting like restricted on it. Like, it was because of the fact that they never truly finished the game and like made it work.
People got DMCA'd for it.
Okay, no. Here's the thing with that game though. That game was supposed to it was supposed to be in development since 2017. No, 2013. Like when they first announced it, all the way back then. But it turns out they never even started until like 2017 or later.
That's really insane.
Yes.
To think about.
It's really bad. Like why would you please don't promise something if you're not even gonna work on it. Like, cause they were too busy with Witcher 3 and stuff to even do anything. Right.
Yeah, I feel like the idea of with like all these deadlines, like this is why like indie games are starting to become like a lot more popular.
Yeah.
Like Undertale, like Doki Doki Literature Club,
I
the Annoying Goose
actually
Game, like they're all really popular. And they're all indie games because people just love the artistic craft, and it's not just like
and yeah, and
done
people
for the profit.
and people make their own deadlines. Like they know,
I
like people are confident in their abilities to be like, okay, I can say this. This is when I can get this done.
I actually feel like indie games are more created for a community and include the community.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I remember back in around 2018, I was like huge on Mega Man, and I was doing a lot of Mega Man fan art and posting it, and then I got approached by an indie game to do art, be a guest artist for a Mega Man Battle Network inspired indie game releasing. And I did artwork for it, and I think about it now, and I'm like, indie games like that really bring different communities together. Like, one person was inspired by this game, and now they want to bring other people who are inspired by the game
What is happening?
together.
I'm glitching out. Oh god.
What?
I started spazzing out. What happened? I teleported.
But yeah, I think indie games are really going to rise up.
Gamers rise up.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because indie games aren't like subject to deadlines. Like Undertale, I think it was like 2014 it got released, and Toby
2015.
Fox, the creator of it, he started working on the sequel Deltarune, and he said he released chapter 1 like maybe like 2-3 years ago. And he said, yeah, it's gonna be several more years until I finish Deltarune, and people are like, yes, take your time, finish it, because we want a good game. Because
Yeah, like
Release.
the whole
Yeah.
story behind Deltarune is that Deltarune is the game that Toby Fox originally wanted to make, but then while he was making the true game Deltarune, he was just sitting there as like, what if I just make another game in the middle of all this? And he just decided to make Undertale in like a few months.
I'm not gonna lie, Deltarune Chapter 1 was so good to the point it's one of those quote-unquote demos you could play over and over again and not feel tired of it.
Yes.
The colors, like, just pow. It's Susie, Rouse, is his name Rousey?
Ralsei? Something like that.
Yeah.
Rousey?
Rousey, yeah, Rousey.
And Chris, like, the colors were so vibrant, so, I don't know, like, entrancing.
Yeah.
And then the environments itself. Rules Card, I loved Rules Card. He was cool. And just the animation is top notch, and you think about it, and it's like, wow, this was created by such a very small team, but you could tell how much love and passion was put into it.
Yeah, and like things like that, like indie games like that, like the graphics, like you can literally see like each individual pixel, and yet like the graphics are still amazing because it blends so well into the game. And
I
it's just
love
about the art
seeing that.
style.
Probably why I like the old Pokemon, because I feel like the pixel art was so crisp. It was just so full of color and life.
Yeah, some of the designs like post Gen 4, like Gen 5, it's like alright, started getting a little bit of movement. After that,
Hey,
it's
we
a
don't
little weird.
live for Gen 5 slander here. We don't slander the ice cream.
Okay.
What?
What was
We
I gonna
don't
say?
slander Vanilla.
Well,
Well, yeah, and there is like yeah, on that in the like the main series games, you have the like the regular like pixelated art, and then if you want like on the big screen, you have like the Pokemon Stadium games and like the other ones where you get to see like all these big like actual like Pokemon are actual size or like actual like really good graphics. Like that's like I feel like that's a proper way to do it.
If I had to be completely honest, I really wish Pokemon took the 3D route the way they did with Coliseum games.
Oh, that's true. I think that those kind of style of the Pokemon genre games would have been really great to see.
I loved Battle Revolution. That was the one game I religiously played on the Wii as a child, and I really wish that Pokemon kept utilizing that style of 3D to implement it into their newer games. Because they just pretty much killed off all their spin-offs. After
Yeah.
Ranger died, Mystery Dungeon kind of didn't
It came
hit
back.
off the way it used to. It came back last year. not last year. Was it last year? I don't even know when DX came out, but it came back. It did sell pretty well. I personally think that the remake was really good. I hope they continue to do unique remakes like that. Like, the art style's great. It was a different take on their 3D genre, and I really liked it. I could play that game for hours and hours. But like I said, I wish they would continue using that type of 3D design in their main games.
Yeah.
I feel like the effort it takes to put into those 3D games is like too much. It's like the reason why they're starting to cut down the amount of Pokemon in each game is because they can't keep up with it.
It's really sad, honestly.
Yeah.
You're not wrong though. Like, I mean, eventually, like you're gonna run out of ideas in a game like that, though. When it comes to making something new.
Well, I think the Diamond and Pearl remake is cute.
No, I mean like remaking stuff is fine in terms of like, oh, maybe there's an entire like world of people out there who have not experienced that game, and like it's not accessible really to like find a DS out there maybe anymore. I'm not entirely sure. Like,
It's easy to get a DS. Like, if you go on eBay, they're not selling for crazy prices, but it's not easy to get those copies of games.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, a kid, I bought multiple copies of the same game. So I'm kind of, like, loaded if I want to, play the same game. But then I just transfer my Pokemon over to one of my other copies, and then I just restart that copy. But like I said, a lot of people don't really have that opportunity.
You're supposed to be on patrol.
No, you're totally right about that. It's not like someone's gonna find a new copy of the game anymore unless you go like buy a copy before it was discontinued.
That's why I like the fact that they're remaking Diamond and Pearl, because it was just such a beloved game back then, and now my sister has the opportunity to play it, because I don't have that many copies of Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum for her to pick it up and play it. If she wanted to pick it up and play it, she'd have to pirate it, because copies are like $60, $70. But now she can pay $60 for a newer game. It has a breath of fresh air in it, has a pretty cute style. They're making sure they're retaining the original elements, so now she gets to enjoy it, but on a different console.
Yeah.
And like we always do, we get opposite versions of the copies. So I'm getting Diamond, she's getting Pearl. Well, I started with Diamond. Diamond is like my big thing. I love Dialga over Palkia. But she wants to get Pearl, I get Diamond.
Yeah, that's true. Alright.
Okay, hold on. I want to hear for another scene that just happened. This is one thing I remember. After going through it again, I talked about it with Joey. There's a big problem where it's like Abby and not Abby, Ellie and Dina. They go off. They're supposed to be on patrol or whatever, but then they just stop. They just stop going up because they find the weed guard, and they're like, oh, let's get all smoochy. We're supposed to be out there looking for Joel and Joel and Tommy.
Just because they just wanted to do. I mean, is it just maybe just character development at that point? But like, it's really like.
But it's like, why would you do this in the middle of patrol?
I mean,
it's so you're in a zombie apocalypse. Oh, the most important factor of keeping our town alive. Forget that. Smoochy.
Would you do that?
I feel like part of the idea there is like they're just like teenagers in love, and it's just like they're just doing what they're irresponsible because they're teenagers.
I guess, but the whole thing in this universe, everyone matures so much earlier. Like, Ellie practically had to act like an adult at 14 years old, and they're 18 now.
But you have to remember, they have their own society now, so they're trying to go back to normal now.
I guess.
If they get carried away, but
It doesn't make sense on patrol. It bothers me so much.
Oh, what?
Because in a way, you can technically say Joel's death is entirely Ellie's fault for doing this rather than being on patrol. But the game never digs into that, which I feel like that could have been something.
But how would it be her fault?
Because they're supposed to be out on patrol. They're supposed to be out replacing Tommy and Joel. They're on patrol.
I mean, if you think about it though, like,
how would that be her fault? I don't know.
They're supposed to go. No, they go out there and they switch spots.
But they're not robots.
Like, as part of their patrol.
But you have to remember, at the end, in the perspective of the game, they're human, right?
They're to make mistakes. That is part of humans.
It's
So,
just
like-
when they're dumb mistakes in such a just a tense world, it doesn't. It bothers me a lot.
Yeah, but you can't get like overwhelmed by how much like the game like might make it sound stupid. To like in your case, right? And how like you might be like annoyed by it. It's just part of the game at the end of the day. And you know, if you didn't like it that much, you wouldn't have bought the game. I mean, that's partial. That's what like, literally my argument too with it. It's just you would have not have bought it then. And after hearing if like everyone like, you know what I did see something though. It's like when I looked online in regards of like sale, game.
It did bad. It did pretty bad.
No. In the first week, or no, I'm sorry, the first like 3 days, it sold over like 4 million copies, I think, or something like that. Whatever the case was in the game. Looking at it, like in the next like 2 weeks after, like 80% like sales drop immediately after. I'm guessing that's just because people like after going through it and the community like lashing out at it, like.
I would.
Well, weren't people able to refund it?
I heard a lot of people were canceling their pre-orders once they saw like the
Okay.
first trailers for the
Okay,
game. And things.
that's another thing. Sony's very tight on refunds. Like it's hard. Like it's hard
Well,
to get a refund from
look at-
Sony.
Yeah, look
Especially.
at Cyberpunk.
Like
the
yeah,
only reason why-
Cyberpunk. It took them literally because the thing with Sony, the way their market works on the PlayStation Store, they only allow like fully finished games on there, like big games. They don't let something like an indie developer. It's like impossible for an indie developer to be on the Sony store. So they literally took Cyberpunk off because of how unfinished and buggy it was.
And then they had to go through the process.
They had to go through the
of, like,
entire process of
everybody.
refunding all of these games for all these people. And
And just to even do
it's
it,
just like
they took it off. Like that was like the first problem was like take it off so that way no one else could buy this game, and you know they didn't like start processing it like the refunds because they didn't want something that's unfinished. Like and the community lashing out at this game like to go with it. You know.
Well, people didn't dislike The Last of Us 2 because of the initial release, because of like how janky or how like unrefined because of the story.
At that point, like you can't complain.
Yeah, you can't. They're not gonna change the entire
Can't change the
story.
entire story.
Yeah.
But with like something with Cyberpunk, like that, I played that game, and I gotta say, man, I gotta say, man, oh, like I don't has anyone like besides me, has anyone else?
no, you were the
played it?
only
No.
one.
I saw Charlie play it.
I don't
Critical.
even. I don't even.
It was hilarious.
If we talk about this on the show, I'm going to lose my mind over
Do you
this
still
game.
have the game, or did you refund it?
No,
I never
he still
refunded
has
the
it.
game because.
Oh my!
And allow me to explain why I never refunded it. Because in reality, there are like fun portions to this game.
Just buy GTA 5
They're
then.
probably gonna fix the
No.
game though.
Okay,
No,
If you want to have fun in a game and run people over and stuff, just play GTA 5.
And what play the RP servers and stuff?
no, God, oh God, no.
No, just play solo.
No, I mean, but like I've played GTA 5 before. That's my thing, and I played through
13
it.
years ago.
Like
Oh,
when it
can you
came out,
family
yeah.
share with me? I want to play it.
Oh yeah,
So,
did you-
yeah.
oh yeah, what's it called?
I
I've
don't
already
have it on
family
PC, I don't have it
GTA.
on
Oh, you don't have it on PC? No.
Was
No,
it?
I- yeah, I bought it on,
family
like,
share Cyberpunk with John. I gotta play it for the stream.
Why?
Forget The
It's
Last of Us. Time for Cyberpunk.
No, I don't want to do that.
I lose my benefits then. You stop family sharing with me if you do that.
No,
I'm
no
actually-
Steam.
you
No
know
Steam. No tip for everyone. Steam. You get to family share up to 5 people.
I'm curious, honestly, how much is Cyberpunk if I look it up on Steam?
It's $60.
Is this still full price?
Yeah.
That's
So
not
is Red
okay.
Dead.
Yeah, I don't.
Hold
They're
on,
not gonna
guys.
reduce it
Gotta
anytime soon.
interrupt. It's time to go
That's-
some. It's time to do some golfing. Golfing time.
No.
You're gonna show that on stream?
Yes.
Yikes.
I thought this was a podcast.
Yes. Podcast stream.
What?
I mean, yeah, but we're also here and we're showing the content that came with the
You
game.
can't. You can't not show this in a live stream about The Last of Us 2. This is unavoidable.
Well, I'm
Can't
gonna-
wait for the next topic where we end up playing League on stream. Gotta turn on that all chat.
Okay, odds are we'll just be playing. If we get the entire crew going, we're playing with all 6 of us in a 3v3.
Yeah, we just do a custom game at that point.
Oh, I get to type in all chat without getting banned.
Oh my God. This is terribly off topic. For meanwhile, Joel's getting clubbed in right now. This is horrible.
Oh my, you're actually
Cool.
right.
in?
I
Yes.
can't believe Cyberpunk. I'm actually so annoyed.
Yeah, it's $3.
I don't know why this.
That's not going down anytime soon. I don't know what
I
you're
don't know
expecting.
why this is. Wait, you know what's funny, though? As I'm looking, there are 358,000 reviews on Steam, and 77% of those reviews are positive. So
Not
I don't know
terrible,
what to
actually.
say. Like, clearly people enjoyed the game still. Wait, what? Why did Critic rate this game an 86?
Huh?
That's like high.
I just realized that laugh was horribly timed because
That's
the club just
high.
came down as I laughed. Oh no. Oh.
Yeah, you know, I
Caught in
think it's just a lot. Of,
4K.
you know,
I
what it
think
is?
we
Like a
see
lot of
this.
people played this in the
Jeez.
first week, though. That's why they just get the negativity. So many bugs, though. So many game-breaking bugs happen in Cyberpunk,
Yeah.
and it's not even great. Like, it's so sad because I had to deal with those playmate. Wait, I'm sorry. Awards? No. There's no way.
Cyberpunk did not win awards. You're kidding me.
Award.
Cyberpunk won awards?
Gamescom award winner of the best role-playing game of 2020.
Wait, who was competing?
What happened to Final Fantasy VII? How did that not?
This is
compete?
Gamescom. I'll be honest. In terms of an RPG, like in my opinion, it's all right. But like, there's like some of it's like game breaking. Like some of it, like there's just a point where like because I like built my character around like strength, so I would just run up to people and just kind of stun lock them into like into death pretty much. Character like just fit by just using my fists. So like. I don't know. Or like melee weapons, like just stun locking people in the game. But like the AI is like not meant for that. I don't know. Here, let me games con 2020 Cyberpunk. There's no. My goodness. Cyberpunk lands 5. No, there's no way.
Okay, hold on. To go back to The Last of Us, can we talk about how what was it? With back how they should have done this game properly. There was one other like missed opportunity that they had with Abby with like creating a moral dilemma over clubbing in Joel. Like they could because like you know how I mentioned earlier how Abby gets saved by Lev and her sister.
Yeah.
Like there could have been a moral dilemma like she got saved by these girls, and even though they're her enemies and she wants to kill them, she lets them live and helps them. But then there's no more dilemma that comes up that's like, but like, what about Joel? Like,
Okay, well, here's the thing. Lev and her brother or sister, I don't remember.
Lev and her
They were
sister.
strangers to Abby, so she had no beef with them. Joel, she was specifically
but that's
going
the thing.
out to find.
See, hold on, that's the thing. Abby's a wolf. Literally, she has been breathed and trained to kill the Seraphites, and she literally calls them scars and said they're like probably, I'm quoting this wrong, they are degenerates and should be killed.
Yeah, but
Like
I don't know.
that's supposed to be that's
it's
supposed
not
to
that
be her
personal thing.
beef, I guess.
She personally wants to see Joel die and die a terrible death. She has no personal grudge against us.
I guess, but I feel like there should have been something.
I don't think there should be a choice. I think it's fine.
No, not a choice, not a choice. No, I'm not saying
And what
that.
are you saying?
I'm saying like there should be some kind of like moral dilemma, like where Abby looks back and be like, and thinks about it. I don't know.
And she like thinks
Well,
over
they
like
saved her life and
regarding
she let
Joel.
them and she helped them along.
I think because like Joel killed her dad, right? So like because she's like it's one of the doctors, right? Whatever the case
Yes.
was, right?
Yeah.
So I think at that point, like it just doesn't pass, over her at that point, like to think over that moment. I don't think that's the case. I think like they just didn't need to write it in, and that's something. Honestly, what I'm more curious about is, and I watched a video about this and how they talked it over, like in continuing on with the story of. Like, let's say they make a third one, right?
Oh yeah, they're confirmed making a third one, John.
So
You're a little late to the
confirmed-
party.
Are they continuing the story?
They're doing
of
It's just
Ellie?
Abby. It's all
No, this
Abby.
is my point. So
Hmm.
now they're moving on to Abby's portion, right?
Okay, this is another point I just thought of as we were going through this podcast. I think the reason they gave no choice and did the ending that they did with Abby's story, they want to make a third game with more where they goes on to every line. I literally think that's why they did. That's why they like in the last ditch effort, they're like, okay, we need to rewrite this so Abby's a character, and then we're gonna make the third game with Abby as the lead. Let's go.
So
I feel like that's not the primary reason.
But like, so overall, they were just gonna like, in terms of like the story, it was more or less like a setup for like, a third game. Then just like shifting this narrative to like off of Ellie and off of Joel and everything in that regard, and pushing it to the new narrative. That's kind of what they're doing, if this is the case.
But I
So,
feel like if
like-
they were gonna, there's a better way they could have done it.
I think that
Yeah, it's not done properly.
I think like they could have maybe have made her a protagonist and not
Not the end.
make her.
It literally
an
feels like, okay,
antagonist.
so what we're gonna do is, everyone you love from the first game, we're gonna club them in, and we're gonna make them horrible, horrible people. So we're gonna get rid of them in the third game, and now it's Abby. That's what it feels like.
I mean, here the only thing is that like it's not just her, and it's not just her. I think in the second or this new just going to be this new third game. It's going to be her and that the Lev.
It's her and
In
Lev,
this game.
yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be, but that's going to be the new Joel and Ellie though.
It doesn't,
Yeah.
see, that's one problem that a lot of people are saying with that, which I think it's kind of bothersome that they're gonna do this whole Joel and Ellie thing now, but now with Abby and this kid. Meanwhile, she literally clubbed in Joel, and like how we said before, they don't want to do the same game again, but they're literally going to do it, except with Abby and Lev.
Is
But,
this
you know,
official?
I
It is
mean,
official. It is.
It's official now.
Okay, there are rumors it's not going to be a third game. It might be a DLC, but most people are saying it's going to be a
Oh.
third game.
Okay.
Here's
It's
my
either
thing, though.
DLC or a third game, one or the other. Maybe both.
Well, they're trying to make money, and that's what they're gonna do. I don't know how well it's gonna sell though.
Can I just say though, like, here's the thing that also like in terms of like making a third game though too, like Ellie being the character that has the immunity, like, and taking that away, like I feel like there's a lot they are going to lose in terms of like developing a plot that like has something like they could have been like, all right, like
It's gonna
third
be
game.
just like a usual zombie
like,
game now.
No, I know it's gonna
Yeah.
just be like but like whatever happens to Ellie, you think like they can't like leave her. That's my point.
Apparently, she's going back to Jackson, like where everyone else was living in that little town. Supposedly, that's what she's doing.
That makes sense.
It does make sense, but it's like there's like nowhere to develop her story from there. I guess if that's what they're
I
doing.
think her story's her story's over now. She has nothing left.
Yeah. The only thing she has left is herself and the immunity and whoever she decides to.
Well, she
be a
can't.
part
Yeah,
of.
she can't really do anything with the immunity though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, that's really it. Like, this is. I think we really like talked. I mean, pretty much everything about like The Last of Us 2, though.
Hold on, wait. Go back to the Owen and everything. I feel like we missed part of that. Okay, can we talk about how Owen throughout like after the sex scene, he just acted like a complete, just
Like, just no regard of.
no regard
Abby.
of anyone else. He's just like, I want to be with Abby, and we're gonna leave for the Fireflies without all of you people, without my pregnant girlfriend. We're going on our own. Literally, that's how he acts, and it's like, I'm supposed to like you? You're horrible. You're so selfish.
Well, I mean, this could just be like a bit of like very like rushed character development, and like if they had more time, they could have fixed this and maybe made it not sound so like weird.
It's weird, and then it's like eventually the pregnant girlfriend's like, oh, I'm gonna come now, but Abby, you're not coming with us, and it's like, oh, okay.
I don't know.
But Mel was never, I think that's her name. Yeah, Mel was never part of the Fireflies in the first place. So why is she?
I mean,
wanting to
she's
go
like a
there?
doctor or
She's
something?
she's a medic who.
I mean,
what we can talk about a many months-year-old pregnant going off to a battle station, like going off on the front lines. It's another weird one.
yeah, I remember that character. I heard things about that too, and like how that was like awkward.
Yeah, it doesn't
I don't
make
know.
any sense.
I mean, this is why. I mean, at the end of the day, like, I'm not Cyberpunk. What am I saying? The Last of Us 2, like, it has a lot going for it, and it's just. I mean, everything's kind of like out there for open interpretation, right? And that's just like up to the player. Like, that's really just it, you know. And it's not like this is what you have to deal with nowadays. Like going into like, as a consumer when it comes to playing these games nowadays. And, whether or not you enjoy it or like or disagree with what the game has to offer is ultimately that's the price tag, I guess. $60 you get to experience that.
Yeah.
And hopefully you get, and hopefully they got it right, and if they didn't, well, there's always a refund. So
Yeah.
it is what it is. But that's all I gotta say.
I feel like the major problem, the reason this whole thing ended up as it was, is because of Neil Druckmann, the game director.
And the split.
The whole the whole split, because here's the thing: after they finished Uncharted 4, what was it? Bruce Straley, he left the company, so Neil Druckmann had complete creative and directive reins over everything.
So where did he go then?
Bruce Straley, he just left. I think I don't know if he retired or went to another
He
company. I
he just
think
disappeared.
he just went. I don't know where he is right now. He's doing something. I just know that he just left the company. I mean, I can see why the company was going downhill over the years from what I've heard.
How do you spell his name?
Bruce, Straley.
Bruce Straley.
But what I feel like is that I think Bruce was the one keeping Neil in check the whole time. Like, Bruce was the real head guy, and then Neil was there, like, also helping. But then once Bruce left, Neil was like, alright, now I got the control here. I got the reins. Here I go. This is my game now.
Nah, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, he did, like, a virtual reality theater experience afterwards, from what I'm seeing, and he got, like, awarded a Vanguard at a festival. That's pretty much it, though, with it. So, I mean, I'm seeing, like, this is, like, on Wikipedia, though, so, I mean, I don't know what it is. Found his energy focusing in other directions, following his brain. So, that's probably just it at that point,
Yeah.
with Bruce Straley. So, what else you guys? I mean, what else there's to say, right?
I think Neil just took much of it. I don't know. He just because that's another thing. Supposedly from I don't know. I heard this somewhere on Twitter that supposedly The Last of Us 1 was going to be taken in a completely different direction than what it came out to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know how in the second game Joel's treated like, oh, he's a terrible villain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, supposedly they said they were gonna do that in the first game, where Joel might have been like even more evil, like pure evil, no good in him at all.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of do that. They gave him like a character arc.
No,
as
no,
well.
not
Like,
in,
what-
no,
it's
not
kind-
in like not in evil and survival terms, like evil as in like before the apocalypse too, with his daughter. I think they said it's gonna be like a terrible, just like a terrible father. It's like, why would you do this?
Yeah, was he still the main character at that point?
Well, in the Last of Us.
In
like,
in that
Wait.
in the development phase of what you're talking about.
I
'Cause-
don't know.
Because if he isn't, that would make sense. But now that he's if they changed it and made him the protagonist, obviously they want him to be like not evil.
Part of me feels like that was Neil Druckmann's take on the game, but then Bruce is like, no, that's not right. That we shouldn't do that. There's no
that's
evidence on
disgusting.
that part, but I feel like that's might have what they were thinking.
Can I just say something, like on a side note? Like I know we were talking about Last of Us 3 be in the works, right, or whatever the case, it might be DLC. Druckmann is like I looked at his wiki page now, and I'm seeing something like after December 4th, 2020, which is like when he got promoted to co-president, right?
Wait, pause. He is co-president of Naughty Dog now.
It says Druckmann was promoted to co-president of Naughty Dog, serving alongside Wells on December 4th.
Oh no, oh boy.
And now I'm looking at this.
Oh.
It says Druckmann is acting as a writer and executive producer on a television adaptation of Last of Us.
Oh
for
yes, that's we
HBO.
haven't even talked about that in either stream. Yes, there is a Last of Us TV show coming out, and
Yeah.
oh
that's
boy,
very interesting.
Who
It
is
says
it based? What's it based on?
the first
expected
game,
to cover
the entire
events of
first
the
game.
first game and possibly some
Oh,
parts of
it's
the
gonna be a
sequel.
remake. Oh my goodness.
They're
It's gonna be a
literally
retelling.
they are making a remake of the first game while on the same time they're making a TV show of the first game. So, what?
I don't know.
They better have some good writing, otherwise it's not gonna
I
do
mean,
well.
I think
something like the
yeah.
second game. Oh no.
I mean, you can't really like they're gonna just go. I think you know what it's gonna do though with this game and like or not this game with like the movie or the show they're gonna do. It's gonna just introduce it to like main media at that
Yeah.
point.
I-
So
here's what I
everyone's gonna
think.
get it, and they might push it for a second one then. And it's, you know what? It just makes me think like it. this all like as much of it like as this is a kind of a movie when you're playing through it, right? These games that Naughty Dog has, and now if they make a series out of it, they're gonna make the first series, right, which is gonna be first game and stuff. And if they make the second, if it's good and it's getting a lot of viewership, they're gonna push for a second, like the second game in the sequel at that point, and then
Yeah.
they're gonna go further, and it's just gonna go on from there.
Okay.
Yeah, if it does well, they're gonna keep expanding the series.
Yeah.
Here's one theory I think they're going to do. I think they're going to make the TV show and the first game remake more coherent with the second game to make the second game better. That's what I was thinking. That they
Yeah,
might
I
do
think
something
That's
like that.
possible. Like a retcon
I
it.
think after like what the community might have thought and stuff, like they're gonna fix things in the show when they get to that season, if they ever reach that.
No,
point,
no, I
though.
mean they're retconning the first game, not the second
No,
game.
I understand that.
Yes.
But my point is like, why if they ever get to a second season and they ever make that second game the second season, then they'll just fix up all the continuity issues and stuff,
Oh, okay.
and
now I
like
know
making
what you mean,
everything
yeah.
like linear and just straightforward. Unless they don't do it again for some reason, I don't know, but we'll have to see. The future will tell, right?
I just had something and I lost it. No, wait. Oh, no. I had something and I lost it. Oh, come on, my brain. Brain, please.
Well, if you remember what it is,
It was
say
something.
it
It was
now,
something about
'cause
the
I
remake.
think we're getting close to the end at this point.
It was something about the remake or the TV show. Oh no, brain, please.
This is why you gotta write this down, Paul. Write this
I
down.
usually do. I have them all written down here, but it was
Yeah, you
another
wrote a
one.
lot of stuff down, not
You
this.
wrote a lot
It was
stuff
one
down.
of them I thought
Write
on the
this down, write
spot
this
just
down.
now.
Well, what was it about? Do you remember exactly?
Write that down. Write that down.
Write that down. Write that down. Nothing.
Something about Neil Druckmann. I feel like it was something about towards Neil
And
Druckmann.
what about Druckmann? Anything?
Something with the remake. Oh my god, please, my brain.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the
It's just gonna
remake.
be an update, coloration, like just a bit of like a splash.
I don't know. I think I
That's it?
lost it. It's perma.
What? You
Oh
think
no, I remember. Okay, I remember. No. Now, okay. So you all remember the Fireflies in the first game? You all know the faction.
Yeah.
The people who are
Yeah.
gonna make the cure. Okay, for some reason in this second game, they make them into the most evil faction in the game.
Well, they're disbanded. They're not the same group anymore.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
no. I mean, like throughout the game, you find stuff from the Fireflies from when they were together as the Fireflies, and they're like, "Oh, we did horrible, horrible things." It's like, what? Where did this come from? I thought you guys were like liberators or something from like the terrible federal government that was like messed up. And now it's like, oh, and now it's like I'm reading through like the stuff that they give. They were like, and like it's in one of the flashbacks too with Ellie, where one of the Fireflies is like, "Oh, I burned down an entire van full of people," and it's like, what? It's like, and I'm reading as I'm reading the document, it's like, oh, there were women and children, and I'm like, where did this come from? This is sudden.
Yeah, that is a little weird. You could say that's to like put more background on like how like after like the whole hospital incident at the end of the first game, the Fireflies disbanded and they formed like two different groups, and like yeah, one of these groups like went in a completely different direction. They lost like the original focus.
Okay, yeah, that's the thing to explain how they disbanded. They just said like, oh yeah, we disbanded, but like how? They just made it sound like, oh yeah, everyone went to directions or whatever with their lives and stuff.
And they kind of do. I mean, I the opinion you don't really need to explain every little detail.
Yeah, I
'cause
think
at that point it gets
like
to
I
fluff.
think you could definitely just let like the player base like think of things, and that's like
I think
the
so,
theories.
yeah, but like, I don't know why they just spontaneously made it out that they're just so evil now. It's like, why? Where did this come from? Because like
I
the
don't know.
whole first game was supposed to be like they were gonna be our saviors with the cure and stuff, but now once you make them evil, it's like I kind of don't really care about the cure anymore. If they're this terrible, if anything, I'm more thankful that they didn't get the cure. Because I remember I heard like one theory on this. What if they made the cure in the vaccine, then they only used it for their own people, or like charged currency and stuff for it, or like abused it in a way, you know?
So like they would just
I mean,
control.
it's possible.
So then it's like if they're really this like terrible, I'm kind of glad that cure never happened. It's like I wouldn't want them to be like this like abusive of their power and manipulative and all this, and even then, at the cost of it, literally literally kill Mito's daughter in the game.
Okay, now I don't remember exactly. Is it implied that Abby's father is like kind of like the leader of the Fireflies, or am I misremembering?
Okay, no, he's not the leader. Marlene was the leader, which Joel did also kill.
Oh, well, yeah, then that explains. Yeah, well, that gives you all the context. The group, she died, the group disbanded, they went in different ways, and they, of course, their leader's dead. Someone else saw the power vacuum and took charge.
No,
I feel like that
when,
perfectly explains it.
No, here's the thing. They say that when they say like after the hospital incident, they straight up disbanded. Like everyone went their own separate ways. There was no leaders anymore. Nothing. They just completely disbanded. And then when maybe I'm not explaining it right. But
the doctors died, so they couldn't. There was no way for them to get the cure anymore.
They just went to
I
go
guess
find
like their
their own
purpose
factions.
didn't really make sense any.
That's
they didn't
why,
have a
like,
reason to exist.
That's why, like Abby and stuff, they went to go to the wolves or whatever. Like they all went.
Yeah, because everyone in the Wolves was totally okay with Abby getting revenge on Joel, and that's like, yeah, they're the bad guys. They're completely fine with seeking this guy out.
Yeah, because also some of them were, I think, like, I don't know if it's only Owen or someone else, but I know Owen was one of the things with them. The, what are they called? Fireflies.
Okay. Wonder when this was written.
But I just don't know why they make it like, maybe if it was if they explained it being after the hospital incident, then I guess so. But they made it sound like this is while Marlene was in charge. Like Marlene made them do these terrible things.
Well, you're talking about those like those little collectibles you find, right?
That and in one of the flashbacks, you literally see it written on the wall. It's like, I heard their screams as they burn. It's like, oh my god, what the hell is this?
I mean, you could also... Well, I don't know about that, because the thing is, this is all... You don't know who wrote it, so you also don't know if it's, like, a bystander who,
No,
like...
no, it's straight up...
or if it's the Wolves.
It straight up has, like, what's it called? The Firefly logo next to it. So it's like... and, like, there's a dead corpse. There's, like, imply, like, a Firefly guy died here or something, and that's his last memo or something.
Oh, wait, could it be people attacking the Fireflies, though?
I don't know. It was in the aquarium scene, so it's like...
I don't remember. Because the thing is, the thing about these collectibles is, like, you don't necessarily know who these people are. Like, it could have been someone who witnessed, like, yeah, these soldier men coming in and doing all these terrible things, and they just assume they were Fireflies, because that bystander might not know that the Fireflies disbanded and they're now a different group. Like, this is you have to, like, think about the context of information.
I guess so. I don't know. It didn't feel well developed to me because of that, maybe.
Yeah, some things, yeah. It's not, yeah, some things would miss the mark.
Yep. All right.
Did we get everything?
I think that's everything. Anyone else have any other topics?
I don't have anything.
No,
else to
I don't
say.
think so.
Basically, overall, pretty bad game. I give it a 3 out of 10. I give it a 3 out of 10.
I wouldn't say it's that terrible.
No, it's a 5 or a 6.
Yeah, I'd say like 6 or so.
I'm gonna be honest. I think that this game has a better plot than Cyberpunk's plot still, or even this new whatever the Square Enix game was. It's not even real.
We don't talk about that.
But that's my I don't know. Like I think it's as for a game, I think it's still a good game with flaws, and that's just what you gotta live with, you know. I think that's how you end it on the high note of what it is, you know.
Yeah, that's a good description.
That's a good way to go with it. But yeah, what's going on next week? Or not next week? I'm sorry. The next
2 weeks.
Podcast.
I don't know.
Next 2 weeks we got the toxicity in video games. Oh, it's gonna be a fun one. We're gonna be playing League of Legends for that one.
Oh, you guys are gonna see how bad I am at mid lane.
Oh hell yeah! I'm gonna ping every time you miss one single cannon.
Just leave me alone. I'm so bad at CSing.
You know what? I would love. I don't even know if it's like possible to showcase the toxicity of a game like that though. Like even in like the normal like
we would have 2 ways to do it. Either
literally just show Ninja.
Oh yeah, that's one reason.
No.
We have two ways of doing it. One, go into a public match and just see how quickly someone gets angry if we start losing.
I mean,
that's one option.
Joe and I have to throw bot lane in order for that to happen.
I think like
we gotta go like 0-9.
I definitely want to talk about how a game like League has probably one of the worst like communities
It really
for
does.
the toxicity.
I feel
But-
like we could save this for next time, though.
I
I
wanna
don't. I
save it
don't
for
think we
next
need
Yeah,
time,
to.
let's
do
all
that.
save it for next time.
But I definitely like I don't like see my thing is just like I would love to showcase ranked and show off how much a team can go on each other like in seconds and just make but like I don't think it's appropriate for your stream. So,
Yeah,
Just
these are
be-
random people.
Just
Yeah,
make just make
I'm
it
just gonna leave that
family
there.
friendly in a way. We'll figure it. I mean, there's a way to censor chat and all that, so we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Tyler censors his chat.
Yeah.
So there is a way to stream
You
it.
can figure it out.
Yeah,
We'll figure it out
when
then.
the time comes. We'll know.
No, the filter is really good on League to filter out that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
But for now, that's it for this week. In the next 2 weeks, we'll be playing League and going over. We'll probably go over other games like COD.
I think it's not gonna just be leaked.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a whole bunch of things. All right, but for now, that's it for this week. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you for joining us, Joe.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us, Joe. Maybe we could have you on for next week when it comes with this toxicity.
Perhaps.
Yeah, I mean we're gonna be finished with school at that point, right?
We no.
Well, I won't,
No,
but-
what's it
No.
called?
You sure?
That's
Yes, I'm sure. I don't finish till mid-May.
Oh my.
what's it? That's April. 30th.
The end of May,
That's
actually,
only
now I
April
think
30th.
about
It's
it.
only April 30th.
Oh, it's April. Oh my. I
You're-
can't keep track
You're
of
thinking,
the time.
You're thinking of what's it called? You're thinking of the MMORPGs one. That's the one. That
Oh yeah.
That's the one
Okay.
you're thinking
I,
of.
I
That would be
haven't
fun.
paid attention to the
That
schedule.
would be fun.
Ignore me.
But besides that, yeah, I think that's it, guys. All right, everyone, have a great night,
You
Have a
too.
great night, everyone.
Take care.
and we'll see you next time.
Am I gonna do my brofist joke again?
No, don't do
No.
this. At that point, just end it.
All right. Good night.